Welcome to episode 19 of Down Under World Denizens special edition. This special edition is brought to you by none other than the Jester Prints and Australian Animals team, or also known as the Drop Bear team. Pre-orders from the 19th of November. So Millsy, are you gonna introduce the fact that Babs is on a bender and needs to be reined in, and he's dangerous to small children?
Well, folks, we do have to put a disclaimer out here. Uh, Obviously, GW's recent shenanigans, as we could say it, about putting out rosters with just what's in the box has hit a very raw nerve with Mr. Babbage here, and he's lost his nana. He's thrown his toys out of the crib. So sit back and relax and listen to the diatribe of Babs.
That might be frothing at the mouth. It's a good thing Australia doesn't have rabies, because otherwise I'd have to get tested.
Yes, certainly would. Wilt and I do it. We do our best to try to rein Babs in here, but it's one thing I can say is Babs is passionate about this. He's been around for quite a long time. I've been around for a while, but he's been around a little bit longer than me. So if there are any listeners out there that have been around as long as both of us, you can completely understand why Babs has gone the way he does.
Yeah, and maybe the reason I'm losing my marbles is because I'm so invested in Blood Bowl as a game.
Yeah, having said that, yeah, there are some really good snippets that we discuss in this episode, and I think both sides of the story need to be explained and stated. It's one thing we don't want to do here at Down Under World Denizens is be a bunch of yes men and GW is brilliant and GW is that and GW is this. We like to call a spade down here down under, and if we believe they've acted inappropriately or done the wrong thing, we're not afraid to say that. So, having said all of that, both Babs and I will have
So
said
put your big boy pants and strap in, because I'm going to let it fly.
oh, he certainly is. But Babs and I and everyone that we've spoken to, we've all agreed that we will be buying that box set, as soon as it does come out. But just because we're doing that does not mean that we like certain steps that the GW corporate are taking at the moment.
Hey,
Um,
speaking of buying that box set, we have breaking news, and I say that term way too often, but we know when pre-orders are up. Pre-orders are up this coming Saturday. That is the 1st of November. Pre-orders are up, and box set, according to the paperwork we've seen, and this is official paperwork from Warhammer, which is the new name for Games Workshop, that the box set will be available to be in our hot little hands on Saturday, the 15th of November, a full 2 weeks before I was saying it was going to be available. So that's good news. Gets in our hot little hands a little earlier, a bit sooner to digest before everything clicks off with tournament scene for 2026.
yeah, and actually, one thing I do want to say in GW's favour, or hamster as we now call them, is that I really, really, really do like this the new way they're releasing things. Like we've just been inundated day after day after day with little tidbits and little information and little leaks. I'm really loving the way they've done that rather than in the past. We get one leak and then 2 weeks later we get another. I love the fact that they've sort of given us so much in such a short period of time. So
Yeah,
thumbs
I
up
have a
to
bit
them
of a
for that.
I do cover a bit of a theory as to why I think they're doing it, but anyway, yeah. I look. I love the Nurgle's Burgers ad. I think that is absolutely brilliant, and I told Warhammer that, and they replied to me and said there might be some more of that kind of stuff coming. How good's that? Brilliant. Looking forward to that. Nurgle's Burgers. Love it. With Pestilence Burger. Available until the 29th of November, apparently, if you convert their date from the old world calendar.
Yeah, well, I think a couple of scribes may have got the date a little bit wrong, but we're still happy to have it out, coming out in November. So we should have our hot little hands on it, before the end of the month, which is absolutely fantastic. Commiserations to all those players out there that have locked in their significant others to get it for them for Christmas. For one, I'm just going to buy mine straight out.
And maybe I've already got my missus to agree that that is my present, but I can have it early. Hey,
Fantastic.
speaking of getting things early, there's an errata we need to put in at the beginning of this episode for later on the episode. We talk about the tokens, and again, in a news article dropped after recording, we now know the exact numbers of tokens you get in the box set. And the good news is they have actually realized, yeah, you know what? You can have 14 players on the pitch at once. You get 14 tokens. So good. Somebody can do maths and work out, yep, Snotlings with swarming, 14 players. Unfortunately, they have forgotten that there's actually two teams that play Blood Bowl at once. So yeah, 14 tokens is what's in the box. Now, hopefully that's enough for both teams at once, but I don't know what happens if you run out. Personally, I think just place your miniatures down. But there is also another interesting tidbit there that you only get one ball token, which is fine until there's multiple balls on the pitch, and that kind of shenanigans can happen. The other thing is there's only one blitz token in the box. I find that odd.
Yeah, unless they're wanting to, entice the good spirit of the players and you pass it between each other. Um, I still do think that 14 stunned and prone tokens is too many. It's actually 14 too many for me. I don't think I'll be using them,
12 too
but
many. 12 too many.
12 too many. Like I do get it for big guys and I understand it for that. But, as I say elsewhere in this episode, it's one of the things that I'm going to be, putting into my rules pack whenever I have a tournament that, it is a condition upon entry into my tournament that you will lay down your players. I just find that a standing player with a token on it that may be hard to see, might be obscured by somebody else, it just creates a bit of unfairness on your opponent's behalf, not knowing what they can see and so on. And we do actually discuss that a little bit further on, if you're prepared to sit through an hour and a half of Babs's rant. Listen, boys and girls, if I have to talk to Babs for an hour and a half on the phone every afternoon, you guys get to suffer through it for 1 month. Come on.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome you to episode 19, and I'd like to jump in straight away with a intro question for our regular commentators. And the question is, we've just heard lots of bits and pieces that you can read for yourself on Warhammer Community about Blood Bowl third season, which lots of people are getting that name wrong. But we've got to be a level of excitement for taking something different, something the meta's mixed up, something new. So for our league, we've decided to bring our local league forward to February. We want to make sure we jump in relatively early with the new release Blood Bowl. And so I want to ask our regular commentators, what team are you itching to play under the new rules in our local league?
Well, I'm going to jump in here first. It's going to be Bretonians for me. Bretonians was the first team that I fell in love with. I'd started playing Orcs and so on, but in the league there was this team. I think it was back in the LRB6 days or whatever, and Bretonians was just coming out as this kind of secret or new team or league, and so I fell in love with them. Back then, their blitzers were 8338 block catch dauntless. They were amazing. So I know the new Bretonians are going to be different. We're going to hear a little bit more about that in this episode, but I'm really looking forward to taking them. I don't know how I'm going to be skilling them up yet, because I really don't know how all of these new skills are going to be taking effect, but I'm really looking forward to running some Bretonians.
What about you, Wilt?
Well, before all the leaks and reveals and other shenanigans started happening, I had been considering Dark Elves and Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings may still be on the agenda, but obviously with Some other news we'll get into later. Dark Elves might have to be reconsidered for something different. We'll wait and see about that one before I pull the trigger. I've got a lot of other teams sitting around doing nothing, waiting to have a chop at being put on the table. So I've got plenty of options.
Yeah, I've got plenty of options too, but I think Tomb Kings are looking very, very interesting to me. In fact, Millsy and I have been chatting about the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League's first ever tournament. The what's it called, Millsy? The North Brisbane Doubles Showdown. Did I get that right?
I think that's right. The double showdown. Yep.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, I'm thinking about maybe teaming up with Millsy, and we can be something like the Space Marine Power Gamers, and you can take Brett's Millsy, and I'll take Tomb Kings, and just prove these new releases are super powerful. Mind you,
for that.
Well, I think to be honest, you got to remember I'm long in the tooth and I'm old, and I looked at the Tomb Guardians and saw that they were movement 4, and like, cool, massive buff to Tomb Guardians, woohoo! They're all movement 4 now. Oh, hang on a minute. That change happened in LRB 5 to LRB 6.
A change that you actually made when you're on the LRB.
Well, I was arguing for something else at the time, but anyway, it's such a long time ago now. That's not a change. They've been MA4 for a long, long time. I can't help it that I don't play against Tomb Kings very often, and don't play as Tomb Kings at all. So maybe I want to change that. I'm quite keen to learn a bit of the bash meta, and I think this secure the ball will really mix up play. It's a number of things that I think will definitely, we want to make sure that on Down Under World Denizens we're not just negative Nellies. We're not all fanboys. We're somewhere balanced in the middle. And I do think a number of these new skills that they've introduced and this new action secure the ball is going to be really interesting for changing up the meta. I think it will achieve that part of the marketing spin that Warhammer put out. So there you go. There's the teams we're keen to play. Just before we dive right in, I just want to point our listeners to something else, Warhamster, as I'm jokingly calling them now, because they don't want to be called Games Workshop anymore. So something they've done that's awesome. All right, is that okay? Can I be a bit of a fanboy for a moment? Is that okay, Mills? Is that okay, Wilts?
Fan it up.
All right, here we go. I have to admit, I was kind of like, yeah, Blood Bowl related, I've got to get it. But they released a plushie for Blood Bowl. You may have missed it, but there is now a plushie Blood Bowl ball produced by Tomy for Warhammer, available through, the Warhammer websites. And if, a couple of your mates and yourself all go in, so 3 of us in Gerbil all gone, and that way we got free postage, right? So $37 Australian. I got it. It arrived. I love it. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. I've thrown it at family members, and it actually throws a bit like a soft American football. It actually throws pretty well. So, I'm loving it. Soft toy. There you go. That's my favourite part of the new edition so far.
And you spiral it properly, and what's your longest distance throw so far?
Well, I've thrown it from the kitchen to the lounge room. Does that count?
But does it spiral?
Yeah. I can get a spiral out of it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a soft toy, right? Like it's, I'm loving it. Like what's not to love about a Blood Bowl, plushie? Like, anyway, I love that kind of Blood Bowl adjacent stuff, and I think it's been a win. Good on Warhamster for bringing it out, and I think that's great. So let's get on to the new edition. And I can see in the notes that Millsy is trying to argue for it to be called a particular name. What I want to say is the first thing that name, Third Season, is really confusing people. Not us, but it's confusing lots of people. I literally saw today online people asking the official Warhammer Facebook, whatever it is, group, event, chat, person, whatever it is, please release Blood Bowl 3. Hate to break it to you, but Blood Bowl 3 is a computer game. Like, I've heard 2 podcasts already say it's Blood Bowl 3rd edition. It isn't. So I think Wilts is.
No,
I think Wilts is going to get it right. I think it is going to be Blood Bowl 2025. We've got to call it something that doesn't lead to all this kind of confusion. We've got to work out what we'll call it on the podcast, but that's probably what it's going to be. That's what the NAF came out and called it already. So I think we're just going to have to jump on board with that. GW themselves, again, being a bit of a fanboy for a moment, brought out a sponsor ad for Blood Bowl. Like, this is an official poster in the old world where Blood Bowl sits for a store, like a fast food joint. And the fast food joint is called Nurgle's, right? And they're advertising a new burger that they've got for sale called the Pesto Lentz Burger, which is fantastic. Love it. Love the pun there with pesto. And it's a cool piece of artwork. If nothing else, have a look at it. I might post it up in our Facebook group if you can't find it. But I just think, how cool is it that we're getting official sponsor posters? It's sweet. I love it. It's a bit of a chuckle. Had lots of fun. Looks like the burger's eating somebody. Like, it looks like it's eating something rather than you eating the burger, which is cool. And Millsy, are you going to change your day job and go into being a full-time prophet? Because you predicted the big change that we've had revealed to us in the last week, which is
predict it, yeah.
That basically, rather than add extra sprues to the box, no, they've cut rosters down to what's already on the sprues. So Millsy predicted this 3 times to me. Each time I said, nah, that's not going to happen. Whoops, it's happened. Now, just to be really clear, Warhammer themselves has said the reason they're doing it is to ensure that this new edition would be in line with what fans wanted. And that's a quote. No, just no. That is certainly not what fans wanted. I think we've seen that online. So they go on to say, and I'm quoting here, perhaps the biggest change in this edition is that all of the rosters have been looked at, tweaked, and changed to provide a new and exciting challenge for coaches. The first thing to note is that the number of positionals on a roster will now match what is in the team box, meaning you should never have to buy a second box just to get more blitzers, runners, etc. Now, before I go on a big rant, you guys want to chime in? What do you want to say?
I'm going to chime in here, yeah. Often run 12 players in a tournament team. So I've got no problem with doing that. And Babs pointed out, maybe if I'm running elves that are going to get wasted a little bit, you might need more than that. But, if you run 12 and then a star player, that might be a 13 you need on the team. And they've kind of leaked this perhaps maybe with the new star player cards that we'll talk about those a bit later on, but they've released, I think, 6 of them so far. And on the star player card, they actually the position. So whether or not GW's agenda is to make your box and then buy a star player for the missing position, maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah, look, I have to say I'm not a fan of this move. I think the reason they are saying is that you can just buy one box off the shelf and you've got a team. Now, I don't want to take anything away from that. I've had a number of people online say, actually, that is a good thing. Like, actually, to be able to buy one box off the shelf and you've got everything you need for a Blood Bowl team is cool. Like, that is a good thing. That said, it was already something you could do. Like, I myself personally recommended to both Tristan in our local league and Sonny in our league to buy Necromantic, because Necro were a team you could just buy the one box and you had everything you needed. So that is a cool thing. So I guess that's the positive spin to it. That said, I would have far preferred that what they did was add an extra sprue in there with the extra bits you need. I would have thought that would have been a much better option, or have a pack that goes alongside it that has all the bits. I mean, that's kind of, we've got a human booster pack, we've got an orc booster pack, we've got a Skaven booster pack, we've got a Khorne booster pack, we've got an ogre booster pack that are Forge World models. Yeah.
Well, not anymore, we don't. They haven't been on the web store for at least some significant amount of time.
Yeah. Well, it seems odd that GW have made them redundant, given that they haven't for the boxed sets. It's an interesting step.
The other thing that we don't know is whether or not humans and orcs specifically may get a new actual sculpt release at some point in the next 3 years. It's possible that they do. It's possible that if they do and when they do, that they redesign the rosters based around some other design philosophy or space that they're working on at the time. So while it is affecting them immediately, as far as we know, it may not last forever. but obviously that's still a long way down the track.
Wilt, you're alluding to our rumour, because our rumour actually said that Orcs would get a new box alongside the High Elves. And so, yeah, I agree with you. It is a very real possibility. In fact, when you look at which two teams are going to be impacted by this the most, it's Orcs and Humans. Yeah,
Orcs and Humans.
In fact, I've had a go at trying to list the teams that are going to be impacted if there isn't any new releases. So if it is at face value what they're saying, what is it going to mean? Well, there's 9 teams affected that are currently in a box. And in order of what I think is most significant down to least significant, I would say Orcs is probably number 1, which is losing 2 big uns and losing 2 blitzers. I would maybe even argue that number 2 is Elven Union, although possibly it's Humans. So Elven Union lose 2 catches. And it's not lost on me that the irony there is that makes a worse passing game for them. And it's also a worse passing game for Skaven and Humans, given what else Warhamster are saying on their release articles about trying to improve passing. Humans lose 2 blitzers and 2 catches. Big. Skaven lose 2 gunner runners. Now, lots of people are rejoicing online about that one because, some people find it quite frustrating to defend against gunner runners. Dark Elves lose 2 blitzers. Now, that's huge. I'm going to have to be very careful not to get personal about that one because I was part of the team that brought those extra 2 blitzers in the first place. Shambling Undead lose 2 ghouls. That brings that team to look a lot more similar to Necromantic Horror than it has for a while. Khorne lose 2 Gorngors. Nurgle lose 2 Pestigors, and Wood Elves lose 2 catches. And I put that team last in the 9 teams because Wood Elves losing 2 catches is not a big change. I have heard about a coach that takes 4 Wood Elf catches on a podcast recently. So there are coaches that do it, but it's not a common practice, I would say. So, I guess, if you're a Doom, if you're a one of these people who can only see the doom and gloom and, you feel really down in the mouth, the silver lining to this is at least this decision only affects 9 of the 31 teams. Right. So, while
I've got to chime in there, Babs. I've got to chime in there. I know what you're saying is, 9 of the 31 teams that we presume at the moment will...
1 out of 29 teams, really, at the moment.
Yeah. But 9 of those teams are going to lose positionals based off what is currently in the box. One thing we haven't mentioned is what are the buffs to the teams that does happen to. So, like the Skaven losing 2 gutter runners, yeah, they are, but their blitzers are gaining an extra point of movement and strip ball, that's pretty massive. So whilst Orcs and Humans, they lose these blitzers, I'm wondering what they're going to be adding to the team, to the existing blitzers. Are they going to get extra movement? Are they going to get extra skills? So, yeah, there's 9 teams that will lose positionals as such, but every single team, we've been promised, every single team will have a change in their roster. So, if you're looking at Nurgle losing 2 Pestigors, well, Nurgle certainly got nerfed a bit when they only had the Pestigors that could move the ball around. Although you can still secure the ball with a rotter if you like.
Actually, we will go blow by blow through the roster changes we do know. As Millsy said, we don't know lots, but page 7 of our notes actually talk about the roster changes. So we will get there in our notes. And I'm saying, yes, we really do have 12 pages of notes. So, yeah, we will talk about those specific changes. But, yeah, so, look, personally, I think this is a really, really poor decision by Warhammer to do. And I just wanted to say that we need to be really careful not to blame Jay Clare and the development team with this. I actually think it is nothing to do with them. And this comes back to something I was talking about earlier. In my head, I've segmented that massive behemoth of a company into different departments. Like you've got a legal department, you've got corporate, you've got rules testing teams, you've got, development committees, you've got miniature producing teams. Actually just pause for a moment. I'm certain that Jay Clare and the development team have been told to do this from on high, right? So I just think that, I don't want you to ever go blaming Jay Clare and the development team for this move. I mean, I don't like it at all. I think it's probably the worst part of the what we've got to look forward to. Sadly, I'm not looking forward to this at all. But And I think Warhammer know it themselves. I mean, they themselves only hinted at it in the initial release articles about it at all. Then they left it right to the very end of the second article to talk about it. And then immediately they've given us an absolute deluge of the stuff. We've got 8 star player cards now to look at. We've got this Nürburger ad I was talking about before, and I'm pretty sure it's all designed to kind of drown attention away from the step of taking these miniatures away. And I mean, I don't want to be that grognard. I don't want to be that old guy who moans about the change to Blood Bowl. But I think you need to pause and say, hey, what about all those guys that have spent a lot of time and money collecting these extra positionals over the years? Like I myself have got a very large collection. I've got a lot of extra Dark Elf Blitzers that I've had to scrounge around and find, or, High Elf Catchers or whatever that were never in any of the boxes, let alone the latest plastic ones. Those guys all have now got miniatures that are not useful in the new edition. And I just want to be mindful of that effect and be careful that I'm not caught up in that emotive kind of scenario. But I still think, if you had put this to a popularity poll, how many of us as fans would have voted for removing these positions? I'm pretty sure the answer is none. And I think the reason GW Corporate have done it is not the reasons they're giving. So let's have a look at why I'm not a fan. And please shoot me down for this. I think, first of all, I don't like it because it reduces player agency. And that's a phrase. That's a professional gaming phrase. That is that, basically as you as the coach get choices, whatever decisions mean less choices is bad for the game. Well, they've just reduced the number of choices in how you build your roster, particularly in a tournament scenario as opposed to a league. The number of choices you have on how you want to build your Skaven roster, for example, before there'd be a really interesting discussion around do you build with a rat ogre or do you just max out your gutter runners? Well, that's not going to be a decision anymore. Likewise, with a Dark Elf build, before there'd be a really interesting decision about do you bother taking an assassin or you just have witch elves and blitzers? That decision's been taken away. So there's one reason I don't like it. So, I just think also the other reason I'm not a big fan is it removes distinctiveness of a number of teams. I already mentioned briefly that Shambling Undead and Necromantic Horror are going to become more similar, and they already had a bit of a identity similarity with zombies on their rosters. I also think, that the Elven teams need greater distinctiveness. In fact, I don't think they're distinctive enough, if you put me to it. Taking away, the 2 blitzers and the Dark Elf team and the catches off the Elven Union and the Wood Elf teams makes them more similar. It's the last thing elves need. I got a question for Millsy and Wilt. Tell us, why do you reckon Ogre's got a get out of jail free card here? Right? That's using a Monopoly reference here. Why do you think that the one team that avoided having their additional positionals taken away was Ogres?
Because you can buy an ogre as a separate model. It's that simple. You get enough Noblars in the box, you don't care about them. You can buy extra ogres if you want them, but they're not a whole team box. That's their philosophy. It's not a whole team box. You can buy the model separately.
Yeah.
Done.
And the other thing, like if you wanted to put in there, I've already mentioned before, when teams lose positionals, they get a buff somewhere else. It's what can you do to a snotling to make a snotling better for the team kind of thing. So I think it's 100% down what Bill said is like, yeah, you can actually still buy extra ogres and slot them straight in.
So it's got nothing to do with a Forge World Ogre pack. You're talking about the plastic ogres here.
That's right.
You can buy.
Am I the only one that finds it annoying that ogres get Noblars instead of snotlings? They could just have snotlings the same as Underworld teams.
They could.
Underworld teams don't have swarming anymore. You could have an ogre team with snotlings that just don't have swarming.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, as I mentioned before, I think Wilt, you mentioned it, didn't you? That Orcs might get a new re-release.
Well, I mean that's just complete spitballing, but it's entirely possible that that's what their plan is for down the track.
Yeah, well, let me add some fire to that. It is speculation. We want to label it as such, but here's a factoid for you. Which 2 teams in the current range of Blood Bowl models, that's the plastic range that come on a sprue, are the only 2 teams that are push-fit models with no glue required to put them together? And those 2 teams were required by Andy Hoare to have a clear prone and stunned facing when they were placed on the pitch. That is, you could clearly tell whether they were prone or stunned by the way you lay them down. So 2 teams were released with that requirement in the way that they were sculpted. Now, of course, then Rule of Cool took over, and so they decided not to do that with the Skavens and the Skaven Dwarves. But those 2 teams, I think, have kind of, aged as a result of that decision. And so, therefore, which 2 teams would arguably be the first 2 teams to get a refresh and get a re-release? I reckon it's got to be Orcs and Humans.
Would be the ones in the 2016 starter box, I guess.
I do think it's it's got to be a possibility. I think so. Maybe we're fueling a rumor there, but the rumor we covered in episode 14 alluded to the fact that Orcs were getting a re-release, so we can't rule that out. I think there are some things from our rumor we can rule. That one I don't think is one of them. So I think the rumor from memory, and you can fact check me by re-listening to episode 14. I think the rumor said that March of 26 would be High Elves and Orcs.
Yeah, okay, well, do we have to wait to the 2032 edition to get our 4 blitzers and 4 catchers back? Not.
Well, that'll just be down to they'll release a new Spike magazine for the new team as it releases, and then it just overrules whatever's in the rule book.
Correct. Yeah. And how good would it be to
I don't think that's the biggest issue.
You could have a dedicated Orc positional that has access to this devious skill tree that they're talking about. That could be cool.
Yeah, I was going to
say. You mean a goblin?
Well, they re-released the box of 4. Remember in Blood Bowl 2016, you could just buy 1 box of 4 halflings and 1 box of 4 goblins. Well, 2020 you couldn't do that, but will they re-release those just box of 4s? If Wilts is right, that's the reason why the ogres got the get out of jail free card. I actually think the other reason they got the get out of jail free card is because trying to balance an ogre team with only 4 ogres would be tough.
Yeah, that's what I said. What do you put onto a snotling to make the ogre team better? Nothing.
If they did go back to only 4 ogres, you could give them swarming, and then it might be a little bit easier.
That's not something that, fortunately, that's something we don't need to entertain. The other impact that it's actually worthwhile us as a podcast going through and thinking about what are the implications of all these decisions. One implication I thought of: all these 9 teams I go through, every single one of them are now slower on average, because the positionals they've lost are, if not the fastest, one of the fastest positionals on the team. So all the teams that have lost players are actually now slower.
Well, you'll still have 2 gutter runners, so you'll still have 2 movement 9 ones there, but I get what you mean, that overall the team's not moving as fast. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's why I think they've given the extra movement to the Skaven Blitzer, right?
Yeah, I actually like that change. I'm cool with the Skaven losing 2 gutter runners. Like, there's been talk for years and years that gutter runners are just broken anyway, and why do you need 4? So I'm happy with 2, and giving that little buff to the Skaven blitzers, I think they're going to be enjoyable. I can't wait to give them a run.
So Millsy, if you're good cop, does that mean I can be bad cop and Wilts can be the middle one in the middle? Can I just go negative Nelly?
Can I just throw something completely random out there? Well, I was going to say that Humans and Orcs from the 2016 Start Edition aren't actually push fit, and I find they need more glue and more cutting than a real model does.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true of all push foot models, isn't it? It's true of all of them. I was literally assembling. I got given for free Gnarlwood, I think it's called, which is like a Warhammer Underworlds box. So through I run a painting club and miniature gaming club at my high school, and for filling in a survey, we got a copy of Warhammer Underworlds for free, which is pretty cool. And yeah, they have push fit models, and I was trying to push fit these Stormcast models that came in it, and yeah, Wilts is right.
I find it easy just to cut out all of the little clip together knobbly bits and actually just glue it anyway.
Yeah. 100% as a gamer.
If they get rid of that entirely and go back to what they've been doing with recent boxes, even though sometimes they have fiddly pieces that could have been part of another piece, they at least go together and fit properly without seams.
Well,
or without massive panel gaps.
Jumping back to ogres for a second, do you think ogres are going to be? Are they going to still get access to their booster pack? Do you reckon? Or do you think all the boosters are going?
It's not. It's not on the web store. They've removed it. It's been gone for a long time. It's been going for a long time already, so it's not
More
like they're
option
removing it
choices is
now.
better, as far as I'm concerned. So I'd love to see it reappear.
More unique
100%.
sculpts is better, in my
100%.
opinion. So that's definitely
So Ogre's
benefit there.
got to
Well,
get out of jail
let's-
free card. Go for it, Millsy.
What's the one team that actually gets a super bonus from all of this?
100%.
Slan. GW can't touch them. They're going to stay.
Well, will
as
they?
Is.
We'll have to wait and see what the. I was actually thinking, what will the NAF do? Would they drop the blitzes to 0 to 2? Would you be happy with that decision, Millsy?
I only take 2 blitzes, so I'm okay
Millsy
with
never
that.
takes more than 2 anyway. But dropping the catches to 0 to 2, would that be upsetting to you?
Them's fighting words. Them's
Well,
fighting
now
words.
you know
Don't
how
dare
I
say
feel
that.
about the Dark
No,
Elves and 2 blitzes, all right?
Yeah. Oh, now you know how. No, now you know how every collector in the world has felt after taking 3 years to find that 3rd and 4th Dark Elf Blitzer, because there was only 2 in the pack, in the old 3rd Ed metal ones. I've got 4 of them
And
now,
just on
and
that,
they
I
can't
think
feel
that's
the pitch.
one
So,
of the no.
yeah.
That's one of the mistakes. That's one of the mistakes that I think Warhamster have made. I think they have not accounted for the occasional Blood Bowl gamer, who, I've met one. We've got Jeff in our local league, right? He's like, oh yeah, Blood Bowl. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. Hang on, I'll go find it up in some, shelf in the back of some cupboard somewhere. Rummage. Oh, here's my scan team from 1996. Can I still play with that? No, you can't. They took some of your positionals away. Oh, well, get stuffed. I won't play Blood Bowl then. Like, can you see they've actually potentially lost a market from this decision? I do think they have. That the reason they've done it is so that new people to the game can grab a box and they've got most of what they need in the box, plus a Forge World big guy, perhaps, depending upon the team. But there's a bunch of teams out there that are still going to be pretty expensive to get. The Chaos Dwarves are still top spot there because you're going to need the Forge World Bull Centaurs. They've admitted that themselves. You're still going to need a Minotaur, right? So
there's a lot of arguments about who wants a Minotaur and who doesn't.
But ogres that we've talked about, goblins are another one. These teams are still going to be very expensive to get all the bits and pieces you need. So let's just run down the list of teams that are not affected by this decision by GW, right? So let's talk them up. I've talked about 3 of them there. We've got North Empire, Imperial Nobility, Chaos Chosen, Underworld Denizens, Old World Alliance, Black Orcs, Halflings, Gnomes, Snotlings, Necromantic, which already had all you need in the box. Amazons already had all you need in the box before this decision was made. Yep, Bretonians
Except
and
maybe
Kings
some
are
extra
going to be in
linesmen.
the new box with everything you need. Lizard men and dwarves. So it's interesting that there's still a very large number of teams, and I think my slightly negative spin is, well, I guess of those 9 teams that have been hit, I guess I'm just not going to be taking any of those to a tournament in the first 12 months. I'll be sticking to the ones that weren't affected by the change, depending upon what kind of buff they get.
The trick is, though, that even taking positionals down to what you get in the box, there's a lot of teams where you actually still need a second box just to get the linesman that you might need. Because a lot of starting rosters for leagues for Wood Elves, I've seen a lot of people going 9 linesmen and 2 War Dancers.
Yeah, well, that's it. And that's the other side of their argument too, is they say, oh, you don't need to buy a second box anymore for blitzers and runners. Well, that's technically correct, which somebody claims is the best kind of correct. But what they didn't say is you're still going to need to buy a second box for all those linemen you're going to need. Because now you don't need to get the extra positionals, but you do need to get extra linemen for a lot of the teams. The classic is orcs because you just don't have enough positionals to go around. But all the ones with low AD, you're going to need a few extra linemen for sure. And I just want to quote one of the members of Blood Bowl community here. He says, "My concern with this philosophy of fewer positionals with more skills is that it's very close to too many eggs in one basket. Combine that with moving all of the Fowley skills into its own category, and it seems like it's going to be much easier to target a team's limited playmakers." Interesting. I like his thought process. Lineman, do we reckon we're going to need more than what comes in the box?
Some teams will. Like, there's still plenty of Amazon players that don't play the throwers at all, so they still need more linesmen, even with the 1 box.
Yeah. So, here's my cynical version as to why Warhammer have actually made this decision. The reason they've really done it is to remove one of the very significant, or it is a very significant reason, but it's only one of several. But it's a significant reason as to why people were going to all the third-party producers, all the third-party sculpts that are out there from all the different producers. We can rattle off a bunch of them. We're talking about, Realm of Paths or Torchlight or Punga or Brute Fun, all those kind of guys. By putting all the models you need in a box, it removes a reason to go those third party. But I don't know that it's actually going to achieve that goal. If that's the real reason they've done it, I'm not sure it's going to work, because you're still going to need to buy a box plus a Forge World big guy in the case of most teams. Even in the case of your troll team you talk about, you're going to need to buy the box plus 2 plastic ogres, which those 2 plastic ogres are like by themselves. That's Australian dollars. So, they're as expensive as ever, plus the extra lineman you might need. It's just the same reason why you'd go to a third party that's existed all along. I'm not sure it's going to work.
Well, the biggest reason I would have thought about going to a third-party team is that every single model is unique, rather than having to convert the second guy off the second sprue into a slightly different pose. But again, that's just a manufacturing concern more than anything else.
And I think Warhammer have actually done a really good job. Again, I just want to celebrate that they have listened to us as a community, and I think the teams are getting better and better at unique poses. And I mean, you look at the 2 teams that come in the new box. I'm loving the way that you have the ability to make each of the models look different. I think that they are doing that. So I'm loving the fact that you do get some extra heads and you can swap them around, and while they're still the same pose, they have different bits and bobs. I'm loving it. I'm here for it. I think it's good. But you're right. You can have completely different miniatures for all 16 models, and that is cooler. So, yeah, I just wanted to restate that, please don't blame the playtesting crew for taking away your positionals. I'm 99% confident it's not a decision they've intentionally made themselves. It's been dictated to them by GW Corporate. And so, you might know some guys that are in the playtesting team in the UK. I know of a couple of them. I'm not going to name names, but I just actually want to pause and say, hey, guys, I know you're out there. Thank you. You have probably worked your backsides off to make this edition the best it possibly can be with this restriction. And I want to be on the public record of saying, actually, a lot of these changes look really good. I'm loving that, Millsy himself is currently oh, the meta's really going to change. I think it is. I actually think, things like punt and bullseye and all these other skills we're going to get to a bit later, they look really interesting. That, I just want to say, hey, I know you've had to work with this restriction, or that's my take. And I just want to say, hey, thank you guys. Thank you. And I'm glad this new edition is not a complete dumpster fire. So thank you. So yeah, so we are where we are. We've lost positions, and you're still going to need to go to buying expensive Forge World models. That's the resin models for those who don't know that they were separate until recently. So yeah, Bull Centaurs and Dark Elf Assassins, Goblets, Secret Weapons. I think most guys, all the star players, they're all the star players except for Griff, Oberwald, and Varagultua are all resin and are quite expensive. So you're still going to need to buy all those. So when you're done, it's not really true. And I'm not sure that they've made that right call there. In fact, I'd argue they definitely haven't. And I don't think any fan in the community would have actually said this is a good decision. But is it worthwhile us just waiting for the new edition to drop and seeing how it plays? I think it is. I really do think it is. Well, maybe, but I guess you could have a dummy spit, take your toys, and go play something else. You could, but I have
else you can do.
confidence that this playtesting crew are good guys, experienced guys, and they know what they're doing. Now they've been told to do something that I think's dumb, but I think they're going to make the best fit of it they can. Ilse, did you want to talk about? I think corporate have hit up the the 3D printing market to try and undercut them. But what market have they actually hit?
I think the market they've actually hit is those people that have the old models, like you said, someone who's been playing from way back in the day, and those people that are selling their models on eBay. Like it's taken quite a long time to get my 3rd and 4th Dark Elf Blitzer, because anyone that owned the team wasn't willing to give up their two Dark Elf blitzers. And then anytime you bought a team online, you would find that they were missing those two out of it. So the people that have some of these older models, they're going to be hit by this. The 3D printers are still going to sell as many as they have. These people are the long in the tooth, the ones that have been around forever and ever. We're the ones that are going to feel it the most. The people that are coming into it, not so much. Just getting back to it, the 3D printers, they're always going to be around, and there's going to be more and more and more and more and more of them as we go along. You're never going to get rid of them. So why change your game in some vindictive way just to stop 3D printers who are going to print the 12 models that you've got in the box now anyway? So you're not going to get rid of these 3D printers. You just, I don't know. Something's wrong with your heads there, GW. You got to rethink this.
Cutting off their nose to spite their face? Is that what they're doing? Yeah, I can completely concur. And that's what I think they've attempted to do. And I think it's going to be a spectacular own goal. I think, in fact, I'd encourage you, the listener, if you've suddenly lost two gutter runners and now you need some more Skaven linemen, you know where you should get those Skaven linemen? Support those 3D sculptors, guys. Go and find some nice-looking Skaven linemen. Get them from those guys. In fact, maybe you know somebody like Jester Prints or Tats Tabletop who can do them for you.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly endorse that avenue of gaining the extra models that you need. Obviously, Games Workshop don't care about what you're doing, so you shouldn't care about what they're doing. Play their game, by all means, but Games Workshop cannot and will not and should not ever be able to tell you how to play the game and what miniatures you can use.
Yeah, anyway, I just think, it bears stating the obvious briefly that designing a good Blood Bowl team should be about making a really good team first and then designing the miniatures to fit that team, not the other way around. Like literally now these teams are, the playtesting team have had to try to balance these reduced roster teams based on what's on the sprue. We already know from both Underworld Denizens and the Old World Alliance that just designing a team based on what's on the sprue is really poor form, and both those teams did not work as expected when they were released, which makes me worry a little about balance. What is it going to do when we've got all teams losing big uns? At least we suspect that a case. And Lizard aren't touched, and Necro aren't touched. It's going to really mess with that balance unless the playtesting crew have really worked hard. And so, my final position on this, and this is me being bad cop, Millsy, so you can bounce me out here, but I think it is an epic own goal by GW. It's got to have some kind of magnitude on the Richter scale of screw up. Like, if you actually compare this decision with Wildly Inaccurate, it makes Wildly Inaccurate seem like a piece of genius. Like, I can't think of a time where GW have made a mistake of this magnitude until we go way back to Gold Edition by Jervis. And that was such a mammoth screw up that he decided to grab a whole bunch of fans to help fix the problem. And that's when I got asked to be on the rules committee. Like, that's how bad it is. So if these decisions are measured on a Richter scale, which is an exponential scale. So, a 4 on the Richter scale is 10 times worse than a 3. So if that's the case, what kind of level would you give this decision to remove positions out of rosters? Where would you put it on the Richter scale of a decision?
Oh, look, it's definitely up there. It's getting into the 6 or 7 range. I will play good cop in a moment for you though. But it's definitely one of the bigger, I suppose you could say, mistakes that GW have made.
What about you, Wilts? What do you think? Where would you put it on the Richter scale?
I don't know that I'd necessarily go into that kind of rating system. I just think that we've been spending more time on this than we need to, just to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think I do want to actually say, there's been a lot of knee-jerk reaction to this, and I do think, just pause for a moment. Do you really think it's like an 8 or a 9 or even a 10 on the Richter scale? Is it so bad that it's going to crack the foundations or topple the entire building that's Blood Bowl? Because if it was, then theoretically we could all pack up our toys, design our own edition, and play that instead. Is it of that magnitude? Like, do we really need to go and form our own rules committee, come up with our own version of Blood Bowl, and play that instead? And game systems do, right? So, what I'm saying is that if it is that bad of a decision, we could do that. And I actually just want to put a line in the sand here and say, no, I don't think it's that bad a decision. I think actually, yeah, it's not to the point where we need to pack up our toys and ditch the edition. I really don't think it's that big a deal. I think I'm at the point where I want to give it a red hot play. I want to see how we go. And I'm confident the playtesting team will have done as good a job as they can to make this edition to still be a good edition.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here with my good cop. We don't even know if this is a bad decision yet. Let's think about this. We've heard some changes, and we've seen some changes that are there because of a change, especially with the positional changes. We haven't actually had a chance to test this out yet. So that would be the number one thing that I think we should do. Now, if you remember, I can't remember what episode it was, we interviewed Tom Andit. One of the things that he said in there was he was charged with coming up with the corn roster, and he was his hands were tied because they had already gotten the artwork or the graphics for the corn team, and he had to make it based on what he already had. And the corn team is around now. Everyone accepts them. Everyone loves it. This is kind of what Jay Clare and the guy. Here's where we're handcuffing you. There's a team. Make it good. I big proponent. I'm loving this new edition. I can't wait for the changes. And I think we should actually see the changes in place first before we make a decision on how bad it is. There is a lot of doom and gloom out there from overpowered team that I've been winning all my tournaments with. Now it's no longer overpowered. Oh, well, get over yourself. Go out there and play something different. I'm looking forward to this change, and we'll see in a few months whether it's actually a mistake or not.
All right. I think Wilts has raised a valid point. I think we've talked about it long enough. I'm happy to move on. We happy to move on to other things about the new edition?
Certainly.
Let's do it. All right, Wilts, I'm going to drag you out of staying on the sidelines. Tell us about prone and stun markers, all right? So the second article talked loudly and clearly about its design for up to all 11 of your players to use, putting a prone or stun marker beside them. I think you might have an opinion on that one.
I've got two separate points that I need to make here regarding using prone and stunned markers as they've demonstrated comes in the box with the new edition. Number one is, how many players do you have that might need to be prone or stunned at the same time? Maybe up to 11. How many copies of this brew do you need to buy separately to get any use out of it at all?
On the pitch at once? Yeah, right. So that's why you need 28, right?
14 potentially. But you got to supply your own. Your opponent's got to supply their own. The second point is that, as we've seen pictures of the prone and stun markers in action from the preview articles, is they take up almost half a square. When the squares are barely big enough to fit a model in, and the token takes up half a square, what happens when you've got a big line of scrimmage with models on both sides? There's nowhere near enough space to put these tokens unless you're putting them on top of the bases, in which case, why are they designed the way they are in the first place?
Yeah, I've got nothing. I'm not a fan of them. I like it for pull your model off the pitch and stick this in its place, because then you can see which one is prone or stunned. But in that case, why would you make it fit around the base of something? If like you said, if it's already too big, it's not going to fit in there. And having a standing model, even if you've got that prone or stun marker on there, it can get really confusing, especially in a tournament. It's game 6, you're on top table, someone is standing thing. Is it, it's going to really mess with your game plan. I don't like the idea. I'm going to be putting into my rule sets that we will be placing our players prone and stunned. unless they
Yeah,
are
me
too
too.
big for
I've
the
personally
square.
got anecdotal evidence that it does actually impact your ability to read the board if your models aren't actually placed down. Both a case of me making a mistake, where I actually pushed a player out with a treeman before realizing that I hadn't even stood the treeman up yet. I was using a prone stun marker. In the second instance, my opposing coach made a mistake about not going for the ball, thinking that Hack Flem was standing, because again, I was using a prone stun marker for Hack Flem because of the skill rings I was using, the skill hooks system. And again, he made a mistake because Hack Flem, even though he clearly had a prone stun marker there, he thought he was still standing when he wasn't. So it does affect your ability to read the board. And Millsy, I think that's going to be what a lot of tournament organisers are going to do, is actually having in their rules pack about, sorry, you're placing your model down. The only exception to do it would be take your model off the pitch completely and put prone and stun marker there in its place. But that's not what these markers are designed to do.
I mean, I bypassed that issue entirely with my snotlings because I used the what's their official Warhammer Age of Sigmar name these days? The Fellwater Troggoths models for my snotling trolls. They're way too big to be in the middle of a ruckus. So the actual snotling team mascot thingies that are on the sprue, I've based them up and painted them the same colours as my trolls, so I can substitute them as a model on the table if it gets too crowded. Now, obviously, that's not possible for every team that exists, but it was just something I could do that made it easier for both myself and my opponent in the heat of battle.
It's great. And I do know that a number of third-party producers do actually, when you buy their Minotaur, you actually get a little prone and a little stunned marker for that model that comes with the purchase. So, I think Grebo are one of those companies. So, yeah, there you go. Another plug for the third-party guy. Go get your stuff from them. Yeah, all right. Shall we move on to looking at new skills and traits that we've had revealed in the new edition? Well, the first one is punt. Now, already we've had one of the world's best Blood Bowl coaches in Pete W say he reckons it's broken, but I don't know how we can claim that because we don't have enough information to be able to say that definitively, I don't think. So either he knows more about it than we do or he's making an assertion there. But I think it provides some really interesting possibilities. Punt, like apparently Dark Elf runners come with it now. And how good could that be? Like, I've got the ball, I can punt it to somewhere on the other side of the pitch, like Hail Mary pass maybe. Then, because it's not a turnover, I can then run all my guys through, flood the backfield, stop the opponent from going back for the ball. Even if I don't reach the ball, I've basically then screened off anybody else getting to the ball and just used my speed to get there. Brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's and I'm kind of looking to do the exact same thing, but in the current edition, there hasn't been anything to stop us running those people around to screen first and then throwing to an open square down the end. So, we've always kind of been able to do that, but I like the fact that, it's going to be a new play style. Like I keep saying, I'm loving this new edition. There's going to be new things that we all get to try, we all get to do. Talking in our gerbil group the other day about how things skill up and so on, and I said, like, if punt works how we think it does, then maybe our other players skill up differently. Like, generally speaking, one of the first skills I put on, and my human catches, I suppose, is block, just so I can get them block dodge because they're going to get hit, they're going to do this. Now, if I've got punt and I can get the ball over the back there somewhere, then my catcher is not going to be in the thick of things to get hit. He's going to be changing his skills up. I'm really looking forward to it. I think punt's going to open up a new play style.
I think it will. And here's one I think Wilts is going to love, Bullseye. Now, Bullseye is for throw teammate, where if you make a superb throw, I think it's called in the current edition. So if you make a superb throw, the player no longer scatters if you have Bullseye. Now, I think that's brilliant, not just for one-turners, which you can do, right? So a lot of people are saying, well, you can't do that with gnomes or halflings. Yeah, you can. Of course you can. Well, for a start, halfling catchers have got movement irrespective. But remember, you can have your halfling or snotling on the line, move the other side of them, so you're one step over the line of scrimmage, then you can toss them from there. So, even if they've only got movement 5, you can still, a Bullseye is still great for you. And remember, it's not just about the one turn. How about using Bullseye to target an opposing player and hurl a snotling at an opponent? What do you reckon about that, Wilts? Is that going to be an interesting thing for you?
100%. It'll definitely be a much more recommended take than just having strong arm for that +1. Because even without strong arm, going for the one turn, he's still going for a 3+ to start roughly where you want to. So yeah, it'll definitely be much better for living ammunition than it is for the one turner to begin with, but it doesn't take the one turner away for sure.
And again, I love this because it increases player agency, to use the term. Now, as a coach, I have a choice. Do I want to develop my big guy, like my treeman, as just a heavy hitter? Or do I want to develop my tree man to be a better thrower of my own players? Like, that's a really interesting choice that they've introduced to the game because it increases my decisions, right?
I'd love if they could make it so you could throw your opposing team stunty players with a big guy. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it could be awesome.
Yes,
but I think
the
point that I'm trying to make is I think it was an area where they missed out in terms of there weren't that many skills you could take to get your big guy to throw better. So I'm with Wilsey. I love this idea of Bullseye. I'm getting my pom-poms and tutu out here. Well done, guys. This is great because it provides a really interesting avenue to develop your player. And I think that's good. So I don't mind it being in the passing tree, personally.
I just don't see why you can't use the pass reroll on a throw teammate. Or running pass with throw teammate. That'd be hilariously fun.
Yep, I'm up for that too. That's brilliant. You know, all these new skills and new action of secure the ball really do mix up the meta, right? Like GW are actually not mincing with words when they say that. And, you know, like punt and secure the ball. Think about that combo for a second.
The other thing that will benefit dwarves that they've teased so far is that armbar, if it causes an injury, will now be worth some measure of SPP to your player. So that's going to be exciting. I've always wanted to have a 1 SPP bonus for people with successful tackles, but that'll be interesting to see how they apply it and who it applies to. Yeah, if they add more different ways to earn SPP, it'll be more exciting to see in a league event.
Well, and they've said that there is another way. That is, if you are successfully tossed and you land, you get SPP as the throwee, as the thrown player.
Will they finally give Ogre Runt punters +1 SPP for a successful kick, instead of being specifically disallowed?
Don't know. We don't know. But, I mean, I still don't think you're going to ever want to take armbar. But if you come with it, yeah, you won't say no to some extra SPP. Taunt, that's huge. Potentially it's even better than tackle.
Block, armbar, and taunt. Let's go.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Okay, so Wilts, go back to the beginning question. TV, you're taking for our new league?
Well, I missed my chance to play dwarves this season with all the stunties running around. That would have been hilarious.
So let's move on. There's a new but steady footing. All right, we have the exact wording for this. The exact wording is, whenever a player would be knocked down or fall over, you roll a d6. On a 6, this player does not get knocked down or fall over. If this happens during their activation, they may continue their activation as normal. No turnover is caused. Now, this is one of 2 ways we can't even trust Games Workshop's own articles. They got it wrong. So they've actually done it twice now. We've got 2 cases of where their first article got it incorrect. So they originally said that steady footing only applied if they were knocked down. Well, no, it also applies if they fall over. The other thing they got wrong was they said that secure the ball caused a turnover. Well, we now know that secure the ball doesn't cause a turnover. It just ends the player's activation. So unfortunately, that's 2 mistakes in this edition already. I'm just hoping that's not a foreboding of the actual rulebook and just the fact that the market department is separate to the rules committee. I jolly well hope so anyway. Hey,
Well, that first one's not even an incorrection. It's just an incompletion.
Well, except it's the way
it's only half the story. It's not telling the whole story, and it's not trying to tell the whole story. It was just a tease.
We can argue that, but I won't. Hey, interestingly, quoting Warhamster again, they say the Bretonian team is a classic high-risk, high-reward team with powerful abilities. 2 Grail Knights are the key players, hard-hitting blitzers with a new skill. If they're ever about to be knocked down, Steady footing lets them keep their footing and stay standing on the roll of a 6. So, interestingly, it's not just about when they're hit, it's about if they're dodging somewhere, right? So that is really, really interesting in terms of cage diving. And apparently that's quite thematic, that in like old world, Bretonnian Grail Knights are very good at like just charging headlong into the biggest, nastiest monster they can find. Actually, here's some stats for you, right? Let's say to get into the cage, it's a 6+ dodge. With steady footing and you're prepared to burn a reroll, did you know that the stats of making that 6+ dodge is now over 50% with this skill or trait, whatever it is, with steady footing? So those Grail Knights are going to be really, really scary at cage diving. I'm not really liking the fact that this is, how we used to always joke that Blood Bowl has an anti-power skill? Well, guess what? This one actually is an anti-power skill.
On a 6+, though, it's I don't see people taking this, especially, well, not as a first skill. Yeah, in a league, yeah, why not? If you get a couple of skills on there on your other players, but it is just a 6+, and I know you talked about the it's more than 50%, but you've got to start committing rerolls to that sort of thing. I like it as a thing. Yeah, lets them stay up. It's just going to be really annoying if you've done everything you can to get this pesky Grail Knight down and then he ends up staying on his feet. There's
Is it any less of a feel bad than foul appearance to begin with?
Do you remember my gutter runner in the grand
final?
No,
I hope steady footing. The interesting thing also with steady footing is that it's got a new key term. It's active. And we know that decay as a key term passive. Now, we don't exactly know what that means yet, but hopefully it's them clarifying what disappears when you're distracted or when you're on the ground and what doesn't.
That's my assumption so far.
Yeah, that's our assumption so far. It's like, well, passive, you'll always have it. Active, well, you actually have to be actively taking part in the game. And if I'm distracted, then I'm not actively taking part in the game. So we're presuming that's how it works. Hopefully we'll get some more clarification on that when the rulebook comes out.
And just purely speculation on my part, but I'd like to see a third category of activation, where this skill's only available while you're activating this player, rather than just being alive and awake on the pitch.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one way you could interpret it, is that steady footing only applies when it's your team turn. Hope not.
Well, except that it doesn't, because in the skill description itself, it says if this happens during their activation,
but it could also
implies that it can happen when it's not their activation.
They could also have Cindy Pyrowitz floating around who throws a bomb and they get knocked down for that reason.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
It's for when they're not distracted.
Yeah, I think that's hopefully the way it's going to work. We just don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. And, as Down Under World Denizens, we want to make sure we get our facts right and we want to be clear when we're speculating and when we're not. So speaking of not speculating, unsteady. They've said zombies and Saurus definitely have it. Unsteady. Personally, I don't like it as a name. I think it sounds like the opposite of steady footing, but it does something completely different. It just basically prevents you from taking a secure the ball action. Since when are Saurus unsteady? I personally reckon it should have been called Butterfingers or something. But anyway, so there are definitely...
Well, they're at 5+. They're already Butterfingers to begin with.
Exactly. Why not call it Butterfingers? Anyway, so steady footing. It's going to be good. That hit and run might be a skill now that people can choose. Well, at least we do know that Dark Elf Assassins have it, so it's not just an Amazon-specific trait anymore. It's going to be a powerful skill if you can choose it. I think it'd be really interesting if they do, which gets back to Millsy's point. It will definitely mix up the meta. So, which, again, more player agency is better, which is why I don't like...
Do you really want to see a War Dancer with hit and run?
It'd be scary, but it saves them having something else.
It will be number one skill I take on quite a lot of players. I can't wait to have it on different positionals. Wilts, you got it wrong. I didn't say I want to see them with it. I want to take them with it.
And they have Dauntless.
I'd love to take a War Dancer with hit and run. I don't want to come up against one.
A couple of other revisions to skills. They've changed shadowing, so I'm glad to hear that. It now works on a 4+.
Yes. Now when you get a Dwarf Blitzer with shadowing, it's not a complete waste of time anymore.
I do like that. It's now just a single straight up 4+ roll.
Or a Snotling with shadowing.
Yeah, no longer do we have to debate the fact that we've got a random skill up of shadowing. Now we can actually use it because it will be useful.
Monstrous Mouth. Monstrous Mouth is getting a change. We know that. It now has this special action called Chomp. And we talked about armbar gaining, meaning you get star play points.
I believe they've moved shadowing into the devious skills category as well, so it's not a general skill that can clog up the rolls anymore. I would have thought it could belong in agility skills as well myself, but obviously that's not where they've gone with it.
No, well, if they've come out with this new devious skill tree, then they had to obviously think long and hard about what skills to put in there, and I don't mind shadowing being in there. I do like the fact that Dirty Player and Sneaky Git are in there, and that it's not available for everyone. So there'll be some teams that won't actually be able to get devious skills, and I like that. Hopefully goblins or all of our stunty friends can get to take that as a general skill, as a primary skill, and really put that fouling boot in there.
I think as we said, analysing what we know of the new meta, it makes me wonder whether fouling's going to be even better now than it was in the current edition. Because as you mentioned, it's easier to get a combination Dirty Player, Sneaky Git, and of course there's now less positionals on a bunch of teams.
So what you're saying is I need to play Underworld Denizens next season so I can just foul everyone off the pitch.
Well, or goblins, or anybody who can get these devious skills. But yeah, I do think the foul game seems to have gotten an accidental buff, unless it's intentional.
Still no guard benefit though.
No, but let's look at it. Goblins have been getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed. They've finally got a little buff to their playstyle, so that can't be a bad thing, can it?
A few buffs. Yeah, no, it can't be bad. As long as it doesn't make other teams significantly better unintentionally. So, Billsy, I was going to say, did you want to run us down the roster changes? Do you want to talk us through who's changed? You're already salivating over Skaven Blitzers, who I still call Storm Vermin.
Yeah, I'm loving the fact they've got movement 8 now, which is brilliant. Strip Ball, that's going to add a whole new different level of play style there.
I'm dreading it already. Can you think about it? A Storm Vermin cage dives, right? Ball pops because they got Strip Ball. First gutter runner grabs that ball, scoots off, hands off to the other gutter runner. Pshow. See you later.
Yeah, well, that's what gutter runners do. But looking at tournaments before, like here in Queensland, most of the tournaments that had Skaven, they only took 3 gutter runners anyway. I'm not sure whether it was a limiting, TV factor at the tournaments and so on. So not all Skaven coaches take 4 gutter runners. So limiting them to 2, I don't mind that. Let's move on. Dark Elves, yeah, they lose their 2 blitzers. Their runners gain punt, I think, which is going to be great. And the assassins get hit and run, which now works with a stab. How good will that be?
We assume it does, because that's why they come with it, presumably.
Yeah, well, no, they've publicly stated that hit and run works with stab. So now you can stab with impunity. If you don't get them down, just dodge your way into an open, unmarked square, and you don't have to, end your stab beside someone. So I think that's going to be a really good thing.
The people really want to know, can you hit and run after projectile vomiting on someone?
Well, you wouldn't want to stay beside someone you just vomited on. Well, I wouldn't. So. I could see a call for it.
I'm going to say, that'd be awesome. If it's a skill you could choose, I'm going to say awesome. Do it.
Yeah, why not? We know that the undead they're losing 2 ghouls, but the ghouls that they do have will have regeneration, and their zombies now gain the IGAD skill. We don't know whether there are any other changes to the undead.
What I've heard is that when you think about it, a bit like what you were saying before, in terms of effectively you've only lost 1 gutter runner. Now that the ghouls have regen, you kind of have a 3rd ghoul, because before they would never come back from a Kaz. Now 50% of the time they do. So you kind of have got like a 3rd ghoul.
I don't think ghouls needed regenerate myself. I think they are good enough already.
Well, I thought they were, but like the playtest team have been, like we've said before, they've been hobbled with what they have to do. We've got to use the box. So giving them that slight little bonus, it gives them a chance to almost play as if they were. So I think we really should, before we, chuck on the doom and gloom about all of these skills and people we're missing, I need to see every roster, because they have said that every roster is going to have a tweak to it. I can't wait to see what the other ones have got.
I want to know. I want to know whether I was going to say Norse linemen have drunkard and unsteady.
Well, one would argue that both of them come hand in hand, don't they? The thing that I'm most looking forward to, I suppose, in this edition is that they are reintroducing a passing game. So they've taken off wildly inaccurate. Yes, the world can celebrate, rejoice. Not only have they taken off wildly inaccurate, they've gone back to a single roll for an interception. No longer do you have to deviate and then do this and then do that. It's just a roll for your pass, roll for your interception, good to go.
I mean, I'd argue that in 2020 it's just a failure of imagination to think that there's no passing allowed, because my vampires made 16 completions for the season, all of which led to touchdowns, and more than half of which were over 7 squares.
You're right. I was going to say I made a 6-up pass with a goblin to Vara Gultur in the big Ipswichski, and he nailed it. It was perfect. I mean, Vara didn't catch it, but that's another thing. I did get it down the full length of the range ruler to him and got it away from the chaos scoring another touchdown on me.
Yeah, but the point that Wilts is making is that you can reliably pass rather than a desperation play pass, which is what you just articulated. But reliable passing. Yeah, the fact that Warhammer are celebrating the fact that they've actually reintroduced passing exactly the same as it used to be before they fiddled with it.
I mean, I wasn't against the concept of a wildly inaccurate pass. I just thought the implementation of it was bad.
That's how it used to be before you stuffed. But actually, they also say that a number of players are going to have their pass improved. That's got to be a good thing, right?
I'd rather not see them go back to elf shenanigans where everyone's passing on a 2+ like the circus. The throwers deserve to be there for a reason, because they are better at throwing than everyone else. And having everyone on an elf team with a 2+ pass out of nowhere was unduly biased towards them being better than everyone else.
Having a little bit of an improvement to the passing stats here and there is a good idea.
Yeah, I want to have a completion with my Minotaur. Come on.
Hey, let's move on to one of the other really big changes, and I think this is a change that I've been pushing for quite a long time, is we are starting to see some changes to star players. So, like Griff, he's gone up 20k. That can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, now we do have some interesting things in the new stars. So Hatred is what Grim Ironjaw has. He's gotten 10k cheaper, which I don't think is cheap enough personally. But anyway, he's gained Hatred of big guys. Yeah, we've got a few other things. I'm hoping that maybe it's me being a bit Machiavellian, but I'm hoping that it doesn't impact your ability to hire, Griff as a blitzer, and you can restrict to the number of. Can't take your normal allocation of blitzers if you do. I'm hoping that it just means that if you really wanted 4 human blitzers and you can only get 2, then you can just hire Griff, and maybe that's what they were thinking. Oh yeah, it's going to push up sales of Forge World models. Well, anyway, I don't mind the fact that there's some adjustment to prices. I think Griff's still too more expensive. Cindy Pie Whistle doubled her price, 50k to 100k, and she's the only star. She's the only star we've had released that plays for different areas, different leagues, if you like. So she can play for Old World Classic and Halfling Thimble Cup. So that's interesting. So we're yet to know exactly how that works. Is it maybe all the teams will work now the way the Norse teams used to work, where, when you form a Norse team, you have to choose an allegiance, and Old World Classic was one of those. Another one was Chaos Chaos, was it Khorne? Favorite of Khorne? But anyway, the point is that you had to choose at the beginning. So it worked that way now, and you can choose from a number of leagues that you could be a part of. So, but I'm rejoicing about the fact that Skitter Stab can only play for Underworld Chow. Yeah, we don't know 100% yet, and I think that's a really important point. Let's not jump to conclusions. That's the job of Slan. That's not our job. So yeah, we just need to wait for the box set to be released first. So where to from here? What does it all mean with this new box, right? What does it mean with this new edition? Well, I don't know about you. I'm still buying the new box set, right? There's still lots we don't know. And I think, as we've all said, we need to try and withhold full judgment until we've had a chance to read the rule book. Now, I think I'm slightly autistic, and I think one of the things is that I don't like sudden changes. So perhaps I've been a little bit negative about my opinion of some of the changes, but I just think it's it's really important for me not just to be a knee-jerk hater. And what I would suggest to you is don't be quick to get rid of those models that you spend a lot of time collecting. Remember, there's a very strong possibility that Games Workshop will come out with a new edition in 6 years' time and do just like they're doing with this passing at the moment, and rejoicing about they're suddenly increasing a whole bunch of positionals and adding a whole bunch of options. So I could just imagine it now. The 2032 edition of Blood Bowl, we've introduced additional variety into your teams where your roster choices were previously restricted. This gives your team greater flexibility in team design, and with more positionals on your team, you have more powerful players on your team in total, meaning if a player is taken out, you're still in the game with your other positional players, making your team less vulnerable to fouling game with those heavy hitters. And of course, the modeling opportunity is going to be supported with special Forge World booster packs, especially designed to match the team's needs and ensure you have a full 16-player roster without lots of those bland linemen. And now there's a greater difference between teams. Shambling Undead will be able to take 4 ghouls, whereas Necromantic Horror won't, while some elves will be able to have 4 archers, while others will be able to increase their blitzers. I can just imagine the spin now, which of course emphasizes what we've just lost. Own goal, GW. Sorry, I personally feel like they actually scuttled the potential for this edition to be the best edition ever. But I want to hold out hope. It could still be. It could still be a great set of changes. Certainly, I think they have hit a number of their goals in terms of shifting the meta, adding some interesting new skills, changing the way the game is played. I'm still getting the new box. I'm still going to play it.
I can't wait for the new box. I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the fact that some teams have lost this and some teams have gained that. People are complaining that what are we going to do if I've already bought the and I've even said it. I've bought the other 2 Dark Elf Blitzers. What am I going to do with them now? Well, I bought a GW Orc team once, and it had 6 linemen. When will you ever use 6 linemen in a GW Orc team? Probably never. So the fact that I've got extra sitting there, having 6 of those on my sprue when I bought them, I don't use them. I've never complained that I've had too many Orc linemen. So complaining that, I've already got 4 catches and now I can't use them. It's like, no, just put them on your bench, put them on your up there. I've got a Snotling fully painted up. I'm probably never ever going to play Snot, but they're there. They're just in my collection. So.
What about you, Wilts? What's your summation?
We need to wait and see what actually happens before we jump to massive conclusions about quality over quantity.
Good way to finish. Okay, and Down Under World Denizen listeners, we'd just like to say we are making another quick record just before this. So yeah, you might be listening to this and know more information than we do at the point of record. This segment is stitched together from 3 separate records. We recorded initially this segment on Sunday the 26th. And then we did another quick record, and now we're doing a record having just had every single roster and a bunch of new skills and other changes released this morning. So we're not going to try and go blow by blow right now, but what we do want to do is just make sure that what we do say is at least accurate. And there's lots of things flying around. And I thought, rather than just going blow by blow, what's our initial thoughts having seen the rosters drop? Wilts, you were saying there was a team in particular you thought had been really hard hit and it was very unfair.
Well, I'll start off with that because it really doesn't have an identity as a team anymore. Dwarves, obviously a lot of people thought it was a meme to hate on Dwarves. And I think Dwarves had a little bit of a hard done by reputation in that aspect already. Um, I really don't see the identity that they're going for with dwarves with the new edition, let alone the purpose of half the changes they've made, except to make them unplayable and or less likely to be seen. So across the board, other than that, most of the changes I've seen are positive. Some teams got more benefits than others, like Imperial Nobles and Snotlings for sure. And Old World Alliance definitely got a bit of a mixed bag, but mostly positive there as well.
Yeah, 100% it did. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Imperial Nobles lost a movement off their bodyguards, but I think they win out overall. Yeah. There's quite a few teams that, at least at first glance, seem to have got a bit of a buff. Nurgle, for example, the Rot Spawn has pick me up, and all the bloaters. Not only are they cheaper now, they come with stand firm. So yeah, there's some really really interesting changes. Um, yeah, we do have it confirmed. Even though halflings can choose from two different leagues, they can choose to be in the Halfling Thimble Cup or the Woodland League. They can't choose to be in Old World Classic. So I think it's confirmed now. Griff can't play on halflings. It is also
No more
confirmed steady.
Grifflings.
Yeah, it is also confirmed steady footing is a skill. That's going to be scary. I'm not looking forward to seeing Wood Answers with steady footing.
Pestigors get that for free as part of their update as well.
Yes, they do. Yeah. The other thing is the skills tree has been dropped, so we can actually see the skills tree. And down the very bottom of the skills tree, it has an example, and it looks like random skills. You get to roll twice and then choose from those two rolls now. So if you're choosing a random skill, you can, you can roll twice and pick from those two options if you're upgrading a player through a random skill choice.
It might also be possible that random secondaries have been removed, so we're not entirely sure on that part yet.
Yeah, yeah. And the other one I thought was really interesting is apothecaries get better by the look of it, because now you're badly hurt on a 1 to 8 on a D16. So presumably that means the poths get better.
Well, in my opinion, that's almost going back to the old editions of the badly hurt tables, where it's a 50% chance to be just badly hurt for the game. There's still far too many times of getting niggling injuries or missed next games compared to previous, older editions that were 10 plus years old. But it's a step in the right direction. It's a bit more forgiving on some of the squishier teams.
I was just about to say, like what Wilkes just said then, going back to, the 10-year-old editions and so on. So a lot of these steps that we're talking about and that we're going to talk about that are great steps in the right direction, quite a few of them are actually a step in the reverse direction back to what they used to be, back when things used to be playable. Passing is a prime example. It's basically gone back. Passing and intercepting has gone back to what it used to be. So, back in the 2016, or better yet, the LRB days. So I love those changes. There's quite a few changes that I'm just looking at and going, oh my goodness. And we'll discuss a few more of those in a minute.
Yeah, so well, why don't we just go around the table and say, yeah, which team do we think's been hardest hit, or pick a team that we think's worse off, and pick a team that we think's had a glow up that we think's significantly better, had a buff. So I'm going to pick one that I think's had a buff. I think it's going to be really interesting to see Elven Union now. Now I know they've lost two catches, but they have every lineman with Fumble Rooski. That's interesting.
Elven Union got Hail Mary pass.
Sorry, was it Wood Elves that got safe pair of hands? One of the throwers did.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else got safe pair of hands? They got sprint back on their catches like back in the old days, and they are now 3+ passing, except for the thrower with 2+ passing. So Wood Elves and Elven Union go back a little bit back towards the Elf Circus ball throwing shenanigans, but I think the Elven Union still have a slight edge on that one, with Nerves of Steel being a thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in here. I think the team that's got uh, a really big buff would be Snotlings. I've just been on the phone to Rowan Lada for almost an hour and just going through. And the major reason why they've got it is, obviously their trolls do not have loner anymore. Their pump wagons don't have secret weapon. But this invention of this devious skill tree, um, some of these skills in devious are just, there's no other word for it. They are devious. They're designed to just wreak havoc on your opposition. I think the fouling meta is going to be huge in this edition.
Yeah, right. All right. Wilts also took my other team that I was going to talk about getting a big buff, which was OWA. I think, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, what team do we think has taken a backward step? I'm going to say I'm really surprised at what they've done with the humans. Now, while the human catchers have gotten strength three, the throwers dropped a passing stat, and I think overall, while the remaining two blitzers have picked up tackle, I think that team's gone backwards.
I think they've tried to match the human team into the Old World Alliance half of the humans, and the Imperial Nobles stole the 2+ passing away from them.
Yeah, one team that has copped a little tiny bit of a nerf is the old vampires. Uh, if I'm reading correctly, and I can't quite find it on my phone right at the moment, but if I'm reading correctly, the hypno gaze now has a plus or a -1 modifier added onto it. Is that? Can you guys confirm that?
From what I've seen, it's a 3+ flat roll with no negatives ever, so it got worse one-on-one, but it got way better in a crowd.
Well, they needed a bit of a nerf.
Still going to be
I'm
big.
I'm undecided if that actually qualifies as a nerf.
Well, yeah, this is true. Well, the majority of the hypno gazes that were happening, especially when they were played against me, were usually one-on-one. And that's probably because they didn't like to do the 1-on-2 sort of hypno gazes. They were a bit averse to rolling a three. Now that it's a 3+ all the time, then they're just going to have to do them.
They might as well, since it's not going to get any worse.
Yeah, I think it's going to be also really interesting to work out how tournament play is going to work now because there's this category of elite skills. So four skills, block, dodge, guard, and mighty blow are categorized as elite skills, and if you choose them as a skill, there's an extra 10k value price to them. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for tournament organizers to work through.
I think tournament organizers in general are going to be really struggling to try and tier these teams now. I think it's going to take, probably a good 6 months or so before we get our head around this new meta, and everyone brings in their version of how to break, or their version of a broken team to come in and try and do things. So I think in 6 months' time or so, then we'll get a bit more of a gist of how to tier all of these teams. But up until then, I think it's going to be all up in the air. And having plus 10k for your blocks and so on, that's probably a good thing. A lot of people, and I heard rumors, people saying, "Oh, they've got to split block up into this and do that," and dodge is too powerful. It's like, well, they are very, very powerful skills, and that plus 10k might just shake up the meta and get people to take different skills or really think long and hard before they do take that elite skill.
I'm just confused how they can tag block and dodge as elite skills, but not make Norse and Amazon linesman more expensive as a base roster. But that's a whole different argument some people don't want to hear.
Valid argument. Valid argument. I think. The one rule I have seen is that now, basically, if you're stalling, that is, if you can walk into the end zone without any die rolls, then at the end of that turn, and you don't, at the end of that turn, they roll a d6, and if the d6 roll is equal to or
Equal to or
uh,
higher than the turn
equal
number.
to or higher than the turn number, then the player's automatically knocked down and the ball bounces.
Yeah, so it means you can't be called out for stalling in turn 7 or 8, but you can certainly be called out for stalling in turn 2, 3, 4 sort of thing. So, um,
There's
yeah,
still too
in
many
that,
ways to cheese it to make it not actually apply anyway, from what I've seen so far.
yeah, as long as you don't have the ball or you park yourself one movement further away, there's
Or you
still ways
surround
to do
yourself with
it.
players so you physically can't move that player.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's
Um,
too many ways to stop it from even triggering.
but it is in there. So that's a plus, I suppose.
It's
But
something.
yeah, there's It's something. Is it enough? Yet to be seen.
Combining
But
bullseye from your throwing player and what's it called? Lethal flight from your thrown player is the most exciting part for me. Just literally lobbing people and getting mighty blow on the knockdowns.
and
That
star
is going to
player
be exciting.
points.
And star player
And
points
star player.
for the missile. The living missile gets star player points for knocking people down then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
well,
like I said, I just had a big conversation with Rowan Lada and we were talking about it. So he's gone, Millsy, if I throw my fungus flinger throws a bomb, if it doesn't go off and blow the person up, then I get my thrower or my big guy that's got strong arm and bullseye, and I can do that on a 4+ now and land it on the player, and I do it with this lethal flight guy. It's gonna be just insane.
can you oh you need a superb throw, I think. So I think it'd still be a
Yes,
five
a
or a
superb
six.
throw.
Yeah, 5 or 6
Well,
for
no,
Treeman.
depending how far you throw it, and if
True.
you've got strong arm on there as well, it goes. But I'm looking at this skill here, lone fouler. It's an active skill. When this player performs a foul action, if there are no players providing an offensive or defensive assist, then this player may re-roll a failed armor roll. You can re-roll a foul?
Yeah.
How good is that?
The interesting part will be to see whether the send-off happens on both rolls or only on the second roll if you choose to re-roll it.
Yeah. Well, with any of these that we're saying, boys and girls, listeners out there, we are subject to find out the final wording on a few other bits and pieces, but just based off the wording we've got on some of these skills now, some of these are going to be monumentally broken, and if they are, it seems like most teams are going to be monumentally broken, except our aforementioned little dwarves who copped a massive hit.
Well, the other really interesting one is eye gouge, and zombies come with it, right? So if you push back a player as a result of a block action, then they lose any ability to assist after they've been pushed back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love this on the the opening kickoff. Someone hits it and you hit with your zombie, and then you can now follow up because you'll still be able to lend to assist with your other lineman that's on the line to get the second hit on the other guy. So there's going to be some interesting tactics come out from players or coaches. Their take on how these skills are going to work. I can't wait for the first few tournaments. It's going to be mayhem.
Well, the
Yeah,
player that the zombie pushes with the eye gouge can't lend or can't lend any assists, but they still prevent other people from lending an assist just by having their tackle zone, right?
yeah. They're not distracted. They just can't assist.
They just can't assist. Yeah.
Yep. The other couple of ones, there's a couple of new attributes to teams. So we've had bribery and corruption in the current edition, but there's a couple of new ones. So one is brawling brutes, and another one is called team captain. Now, brawling brutes, as I understand it, means now that team that has that brawling brutes attribute gets 3-star player points. All the players get 3-star player points per casualty, but only 2-star player points per touchdown.
Yep. Yeah.
Which
They've
could be
switched it
exciting.
over.
That's big. And
Yeah.
the other one is
As an old time orc coach, that's like we always said that orcs always said that casualties count more than touchdowns. So now they kind of do.
in a league setting, it's going to be massive. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that in tournaments, it's easier to get cas than it is to get touchdowns, because the sheer number of them is higher. So yeah, that's going to be big for those teams in terms of league development. And the other one is team captain, where you choose a team captain. That team captain automatically gains the pro skill. And there's some way that if that player is on the field and you use a reroll, you can roll a d6, and on a 6, you don't actually lose the reroll at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that player must be on the field. I did read somewhere, it's not in the notes I have at the moment, but you always have to field that player. So you
Yep.
can't, from what I read, you can't leave him on the bench. If he's available to play, he has to be on the field. And why wouldn't you? You got a free pro player in there that on a 6+ is a free reroll. Like, how good is that? Now, whether or not tournaments accept team captain as being something, or whether that just stays as a league thing. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm thinking that TOs are going to have to say yes, you can have a team captain, or no, you can't.
Well, it's only orcs and humans that have that special rule from what I've seen so far, which goes some way towards making them feel less bad for losing half their positions. But whether it's going to be enough is going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I think that's the key point we really want to make is what we were saying, back on Sunday. Let's wait for the rule book. Let's actually wait to make final decisions, but by the rule book, and let's not toss our toys out of the pram. Let's give this a red hot crack and see. Certainly, some teams like Necromantic Horror look like they're definitely going to be tier 1 now. Other teams might go down a tier or two. Certainly in time, I think we'll get that balance right. And I just think it's going to be interesting times. Absolutely. Is it disastrous times? I don't think so. I think it's going to be something we can work our way through and make necessary little tweaks here and there as we need to as tournament organisers and league commissioners. And Bob's your uncle. Bing bang boom. New edition.
No, Bob was my granddad.
Oh, he was actually my father. But anyway.
Does that make us related? No, just kidding.
I just want to pose one simple question for whoever designed the dwarf roster for this edition. Explain to me exactly how a zombie can get dodge as a secondary skill, but no one on the dwarf team can. Please explain.
Yeah, that's fair and valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think similar things. Like I'm still trying to get my head around who has unsteady and who doesn't, and who can pick up the ball with that secure the ball thing and who can't. And again, I don't have clear rules yet. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to just wait. But again, I'm thinking this doesn't look like a good list, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm 90% positive for the roster changes so far, but the 10% that aren't positive, they're very, very negative.
Yeah, that's like my like I've said, my phone has been just going off the hook all day, and then every time I sort of had a chance, I jumped on Facebook. Every post I would see, someone's going, "Oh, look what's happening with my Norse now. They're going to be overpowered. This is going to be awesome." And then the next post you see, "Oh, look what happens with my Necro now." There's quite a lot of teams and coaches out there that saying, "Hey, my team's going to be awesome now." So it sounds like a lot of teams are going to be awesome. So how are they going to be awesome against another awesome team? One thing I will give GW props for is they said this would shake up the meta, and oh my gosh, it's going to shake up the meta.
Well, if everyone's OP, then nobody's OP except for those poor little dwarves crying in the corner.
They're the new goblins.
Yeah, they are the new goblins. Yeah.
Speaking of goblins, I noticed that goblins on an orc team have better passing stats than goblins anywhere else in the rules. Explain that as well. Well, it might just be a typo, but I don't know.
Yeah, the other typo, I think it's a typo anyway. The Chaos Renegade Ogre on a Chaos Renegade team doesn't have Mighty Blow.
Ooh.
Oh.
So it could just be a typo.
Yeah.
It could be an errata. We'll just have to wait and see. So, and I think that's the point. Yeah, this is very brand new. I hope you, the listener, understand that. Down Under World Denizens tend not to go and release things at first glance. So this is all brand spanking new for us. And we just want to say, hey, we're not going to now rush out and put another episode together once we get the full set of rules. We're going to wait, let it settle. You will hear from us normal time in December. We're going to let this new edition come out. We're going to digest the rules. You'll hear from us in due course. We just encourage you, go and get it. Make sure you pre-order for the Drop Bear team from Jester Prints. Support them, particularly given their Etsy store has just been taken down by the evil war hamster minions. Yeah, just want to encourage you. Give it a red hot crack and let us know how you're finding it.
Yeah, and if you're looking for that, they do have an official name now. It's Terror Australis, I believe. I think I saw a post about that earlier today. So, yeah, check out Jester Prints and that amazing looking Australian animal team.
Can't say enough good things about it. Let's go.
Deadset Legend.
Sylvester Marbo.
That is 100% Rambo. Like Marbo, Rambo, yeah, get it. He's even called Sly, Sylvester Stallone, 100%. Necrons, they're Terminators. Ripperjacks are facehuggers. Gene Stealers, they're alien. Gordon Ramsay plays on a halfling team. Yeah, what's with that, GW? You know, you rip off everyone else's IP, and you blow up everyone else that's trying to do it. And here's one of your very own people that you had into White Dwarf magazine, was Jurgen Demonfeeder. It's all there if you want to go back and I'm not sure what edition it was, and it clearly shows Jurgen full on alien if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and look, you know, as recently as 2004, 2005, right? Thrud as a star player, right? Games Workshop made a miniature for him. They paid a sculptor to sculpt it. They released it as part of the Blood Bowl collection with star player stats for him. And they didn't realise that they didn't have the rights to him until Carl Critchlow sent them a letter saying, excuse me, you don't have the rights to Thrud anymore. And they were like, oops, and they just quietly dropped him, right? So, you know, we've already talked about in a previous episode about Games Workshop taking Etsy stores down and taking eBay stores down, including, you know, stores for Jester Prints and Tats Tabletop, right? Like they've viewed these guys, right? And more recently, they've actually actively pursued a whole bunch of third-party manufacturers, right? They have actually grabbed a whole bunch of them, 280 to be precise, and launched a class action against them in a way where they have basically got a judge to make a decision against all 280 in one hit. The judge found that they were in breach and immediately froze all their assets, right? Baron of Dice was one of these. To unfreeze your assets, you had to put up a US $10,000 bond. And if you wanted to get out of it completely and not challenge it in court, you had to pay a US $60,000 fine. Right? A few days later, Games Workshop realised that about 24 of these companies they had in this 280 pile list that weren't actually meant to had this action taken against them at all. So they sent them literally a 2-line email saying, oops. Right? Have a think about what happened to those companies in those couple of days, right? So, you know, just unbelievable mistake. And this was not that long ago. And my Machiavellian thought here is, did Warhammer deliberately do this, taking action because the new edition was coming, and they were kind of doing it under the cover of the announcement of the new edition? Like, you know, are they going to take all these legal steps against our third-party friends while we're distracted? Now, look, to be fair to GW for a moment, I do think there are companies that need to take legal action against, you know, these kind of China forge producers, you know, that are making literally rip-off clones of their models. Sure, take them down, attack them. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But pursuing the third-party sculptors in a dodgy way and actually claiming things about them that are untrue, I'm not okay with that. You know, like, so for example, you know, one of the things they claim is that, you know, putting an Aquila on a science fiction model, which the Aquila is the two-headed eagle, if you're not sure what that is a breach of copyright. Therefore, they're trying to make the model too close to Warhammer 40k. But the two-headed Aquila, as if GW have rights on that. I mean, have a look at the Albanian flag sometime, and you tell me whether it's on there, right? Like, are you going to start taking Wimbledon AFC to court for using a two-headed eagle as their logo because they have one? Or what about St. Johnson FC? That's my personal favourite because their two-headed eagle looks very, very similar to the 4K one. So, you know, I think GW are deliberately and intentionally overstretching what's legal for them to do, taking legal action, knowing that they will actually lose, but not caring because they're throwing their muscle around. And I'm just not okay with that, right? Because, you know, 3D sculptors can make fancy football miniatures because it's not necessarily for Blood Bowl. It could be for a variety of games. It could be for Myth and Gold, Chaos Ball, Elf Ball, so on. Anyway, it's not great. And I'm just saying it's not good. You know, and I do think the 3D sculptors did kind of bring it on themselves a little bit. So, for example, if you remember last year when the Gnome team was pre-released and there was announcements about it, like we've got currently going on with the new edition, you know, within a couple of weeks, they all released their own Gnome versions of fantasy football teams. of course that's going to get under the skin of Games Workshop. Of course they're going to get annoyed by that. Well, now we're living in the ramifications of that. But it's a bit of an annoyance, right? That GW were taking all this legal action when they themselves are the people's IP, like Alien, right? So these miniatures, right, Jurgen Demonfeeder, they came about thanks to Tom Anders, right? So they were bought by him from Phil Lewis, and he got them cast up. And the original arrangement was he wasn't allowed to sell them. So what he did was he gave them away at Chaos Cup, one each year. So they were limited edition models that he released. Now that obviously GW hated that he'd done that, but he legally got his hands on all those original sculpts and cast them up. And in fact, one of them that he managed to acquire had already been spun by Games Workshop's own foundry, but just never publicly released. I think it was spun up so that Phil could kind of convert it. Anyway, so it really annoyed GW. That's why Tom and Games Workshop fell out. But these models are still available. You can still get your hands on Jurgen Demonfeeder. If you go to Impact Miniatures, you can still find them. You can still get them. So look, in terms of all the legal action, there's more about this on Anything But a One, episode 139, where Millsy and I make an appearance. So it's definitely worth a listen. I just want to give that a hug. Jurgen Demonfeeder was never officially released by Games Workshop, but we can get our hands on the model, and it was in White Dwarf. So that brings us to, what should his stats be? Because he was never officially released, he doesn't officially have his stats. So what we do have is we know that he was meant to be a blitzer for the Chaos All-Stars. We know that because it was mentioned underneath his picture, White Dwarf. And the only blitzer that we have from the Chaos All-Stars was Galman Goreblade. All right, now Galman is the guy, if you remember, who had no face. He just had like a dome for a head. And back in second edition, he had an MA of 4, a +3, a strength of 4, an agility of 4, what's TS again, Millsy?
Throwing skill.
Yeah, throwing skill of 0, a cool of 0, and an AV of 9. And Galman Goreblade's special skills were level 3 leap, strangely, mighty blow level 2, and toughness level 3. Now, he's the only Chaos All-Star Blitzer that we have stats for. So there you go. There's, if you like, what we do have. But that's nothing to do with Jurgen. Mills, anything you want to add about Jurgen?
Well, I do have the best Jurgen you've ever seen in your life. The fact that he is modelled to look like an alien from Ridley Scott's Alien movie, that's what I've lent into when I've designed mine. I'm not sure what you guys have lent into, but happy to start hearing what the crew have come up with. And once again, we'll put it on our Facebook page and let you guys vote on why I'm the winner. On who's going to be the winner.
Maybe we should let Wilts go first since he's been the quietest.
So, Jurgen Demonfeeder, obviously we've all come to the same conclusion that he's very inspired by a science fiction franchise. I've just given him regular stats for a Chaos Warrior. Plays for the Favoured of crew. I've priced him sharply at 180k. And I've given him Brawler, Disturbing Presence, Shadowing, and Thick Skull. And Jurgen's special ability that I've written for him is called Acid for Blood. Anytime Jurgen's armor gets broken, for whatever reason, the model making the action that caused his armor to get broken also takes an armor roll and a potential knockdown.
Ooh.
Have you been reading my notes?
Is that a once per game?
No, just every single time. If he gets knocked down and his armor gets broken, whoever knocked him down gets a chance to have their armor broken.
Ooh. Wow. Okay, I can see why he has the price tag.
You've been reading my notes, Will. Yeah. Who's up next? You want to go, Babs, or do you want me?
Hang on, what was his stats
What was
again?
his stats?
Just regular Chaos Warrior stats. So, movement 5, strength 4, edge 3+, pass 5+, AV 10+. But Brawler, Disturbing Presence, Shadowing, and Thick Skull, and Acid for Blood.
Okay, I like it.
Millsy, you want to go next?
Okay, well, I've got Jurgen Demonfeeder. I didn't actually design him off anybody. I suppose you could say the stats came from the Chaos Renegade lineman. So movement 6, strength 3, 3+ agility, 4+ passing, and 9+ armor. He costs 170 gold pieces. So here's the skills. I gave him animal savagery. If you watch the movie, this thing wants to lash out at everything. I gave it claws. If you watch the movie, this thing has big claws. Dauntless. If you watch the movie, this thing will take on anything. Frenzy. It just wants to keep going. Here's might be the controversial one. Hit and run, because it also does strike things and then take off and go. It's got Loner 4+, and my special ability is called Acid Blood. Whenever Jurgen's armor is broken, his carapace cracks and acidic blood is unleashed. Roll a d6 for every player adjacent to Jurgen, including prone or stun players. On a 4+, they are hit with acid. Immediately roll an armor roll and subsequent injury roll if needed for any players hit by the acidic blood.
That's literally a bomb going off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. I think you guys have run in each other's in each other's garden, so to speak. But I think you've got it all wrong. You ready for the correct version?
Oh, hit me with it.
So the first thing is, right, what's his name?
Jurgen Demonfeeder. Okay.
Right. Demonfeeder, right? So Jurgen Demonfeeder, he's a Chaos Renegade Blitzer. Now, Demonfeeder can mean a few different things, right? Does it mean that he feeds on demons? Does it mean that he's a demon and just feeds a lot? Neither. Jurgen, despite his horrific appearance, is actually a soft-hearted Blood Bowl player. Or perhaps his treatment by others due to his horrific appearance has made him stand up to the mistreatment of other, less appealing creatures across the old world. You see, many champion good, so-called good, roam around the old world, slaying demons with no thought to the consequences, such as that many of these demons are mums and dads. You see, Jurgen runs an orphanage for young demons who are unable to fend for themselves in the difficult old world. He spends his hard-earned gold crowns on running the orphanage and making sure that those little nurglings, corn blood-spawned babies, Zinch spites and Slaneshi fiend pup were all well fed and cared for. So, Jurgen Demonfeeder, right? He's good guy at heart.
No one ever thinks about the family of a henchman.
That's exactly right? So, Jurgen Demonfeeder, MA 7, Strength 3, AG 3+, PA 4+, AV 9+. The skills I gave him: Sure Feet, Juggernaut, Frenzy, Foul Appearance, of course, and Pro. The cost I've given him, a measly 150k, and is favoured of Chaos Undivided. His special skill, Close Encounter. Once per half, Jurgen may get up close with an opponent and drool on them while they're stupefied in terror. Jurgen may gain the Hypnotic Gaze skill. If the skill is used successfully, the opposing player may not be activated again until they are no longer in Jurgen's tackle zone.
Interesting. I like it.
Hmm.
Not a winner, but yeah, I like it.
That's definitely on the skitter stab levels of cheapness, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 150. Ooh.
Well, I mean, he's 7. I mean, effectively movement 9, I guess. So maybe he's a bit undercosted, but then again, that's what I do, isn't it?
Well, not usually to the same extent as Millsy, but in this case, you've gone west.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he's only strength 3. Yeah, you'd have to have a good reason to take him. I kind of designed him to be a bit like a runner.
Yeah, I get it. Mine I just designed as like, what would an alien be? Like, what skills would they have? What would an alien do? Because like I really lent into that. Well, they've ripped off Alien, so am I.
Yeah, cool. And I love it. I love the fact you guys both came up with alien blood. That's hilarious.
Yeah. When Wilts has gone,
Acid for blood.
what'd you say? Acid for blood. Mine's just called Acid Blood. But yeah,
That's the actual line from Aliens: is acid for blood.
There you go. I like Babs's Close Encounter, like leaning onto the sci-fi there, like Close Encounter of the Third Kind kind of thing.
Got that,
leaning into it.
Close Encounters of the Third Party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a Close Encounter third edition, third season, Blood Bowl third, Blood Bowl 3, Blood Bowl confusing edition. Hey, Millsy, give us a quick update on the travel fund and the Down Under World Denizens.
Well, the Down Under World Denizens are officially out of Millsy Mansion. I have completed all of the stuff that I'm doing on them, which is all the base coats and a few little highlights and so on. We have done one single day up in at Babs's place, up to your place, mate, and we got some highlights on one of them. So I've finished all of the rest of them. So all of the positionals, including 4 catches that might not be needed anymore, all of the positionals in the Wood Elf team are they're currently with Wilts. He's going to start and putting the basing on it, and then I've shipped off the rest of the linemen to you, Babs. So you're going to do the last of the highlights, get them over to Wilts.
I have spent 2 hours on them today alone, so they now all have pupils.
Nice.
I've retouched their skin up because a number of them had green underneath their chin. It must have been accidental brush.
Yeah, I might have.
All their bone has all been extreme highlighted. I've put extra highlights on those. Yeah, all their cloths and their shoulder pads have all been highlighted. I'm up to the gems.
Fantastic. And then Wilts is going to do all of the basing. Once we've got all the basing done, I think I've suggested that we might get them over to Warner, because Warner has the ability to take some really good photos of them. We'll get them posted up on the internet for everyone to see and have a look at. And then we'll ship them off down to Ewan, who is...
Yeah, I might even personally drop them in. I plan to swing that way anyway over Christmas. That way we can make sure they get there without any damage in the post.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
And deliver them.
Yeah, and with our travel fund, so the money we raised from those guys, we've put into our Malta travel fund. The other part of the travel fund is mine's gone blank. The raffle of the
Flagstaff Jailbird.
The Flagstaff Jailbird raffle, yes, which includes the entire team, which now has 4 catches that you may not need anymore, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, tell us how much you love these changes, Mills. Nothing, never mind. Move on.
Well, it's the Flagstaff Jailbird only had 3 strikers, which were the version of Blitzer, so we had to do a little bit anyway. But they're all there. The raffle ticket sales on those are going extremely well. There is one more chance to buy them, which will be at the Bundy Rumble on the 29th and 30th of November. We're going to draw it there. If you're present on the day and you win, then you get to collect them on the spot. If not, we will ship them to anywhere in Australia free of charge. And if you'd like to purchase some tickets and you're overseas, then we can do a little bit of a deal. We'll find out how much the postage costs above Australian postage and let you pay the remainder on that. And you can also purchase tickets via a PayPal, which is downunderworlddenizens@gmail.com. Prices are per ticket, $5 per ticket, and just make sure you click the family and friends option there, and that saves avoids paying any taxes on top of that. So if you'd like to get some more tickets, reach out to us and grab some.
Cool. And where is the best place on the planet to be when the new edition drops, Millsy?
Well, that'll actually be at Grimm's Gaming and Hobbies in Bundaberg, because that's where the first day of the Bundy Rumble will be. Remember, the Bundy Rumble will be the world's first 2-day beach bowl event. So, if you've got to come to Australia, if anyone's still looking at coming in, you've still got a couple of weeks to get some rosters in and so on. And yeah, come to Grimm's, come here in sunny Bundaberg. I know I'm trying to organise some tours for all the lovely wives and girlfriends of some of the players here. So if you'd like to come to the Bundy Rum Factory or the Bundy Ginger Beer Factory, there's so many other different places you can come to. Macadamias Australia, Chinnaberries, there's so many. But we'll all be at Grimm's Gaming, and that'll be on the 29th when, fingers crossed, our rumour comes true, and that's the date we'll get our release of the brand new Season 3 or Anniversary Edition of Blood Bowl.
BB25, you know it's going to happen.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do. We do. We
right.
do know that.
It's already happened.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. But the point is that it would be a great place to say goodbye to 2020 edition. I personally have already decided to take Dark Elves to the Rumble because if I'm going to lose half my blitzes,
Getting used to only having two blitzes.
get me used to having only two blitzes. That's right. That's exactly right. You took my thunder. No, it's perfect. So hey, the Blood Bowl 3's renamed World Cup to the World Challenge because obviously the World Cup is what we're all going to in Malta. But the World Challenge, it's a competition of the top 64 Blood Bowl coaches on Blood Bowl 3. And there's cash prizes. I don't know if it's for the top 16 or top 8 or whatever, but yeah, as the fewer you are, the more cash you get. And we've got two Aussies in that mix. So Clay Metiard or Clay Finity, he currently lives in Dubai, but he is an Aussie through and through. He's in the top 64, and Kiltane Quilty, aka Kiltrain, who has a very unusual Norse roster in this competition and has piqued the interest of a lot of the very well known and good Blood Bowl players. And so now everybody's on the kill train. They all love him, and whenever he goes for foul action or is going to blitz a player, they're all like, "Ooh, here comes the kill train." So yeah, they're loving it. They're absolutely loving him. So we're all following along eagerly to see how everybody does. There's a lot of leagues starting up with this new edition. There's a lot of tournaments in this new edition, and there's going to be turnover of people involved. And maybe this interview is going to be helpful for people who, when there's a changing of the guard between an old tournament organizer and a new tournament organizer, or an old league commissioner and new league commissioner, and how this interview is going to be really helpful to hear from some fantastic coaches about how they've managed that process of handing the reins over from one set of commissioners and organisers to another.
And speaking of new tournaments or new leagues starting up, one of the things you may have heard is we've just come back from the big Ipswichski, which is a tournament that takes place every year down here in southeast Queensland in Ipswich of all places. And this year the Tournament Organising Committee went through a considerable change. Now, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but in the background of the Ipswich Blood Bowl Association, they had a bit of a changing of the guard, and there were three new people that sort of volunteered, put their hand up, as you say, and had to do things on the fly. Now, Babs and I, being the people that just like promoting the community, we jumped on board and said, look, whatever help you need, give us a shout out. We'll do what we can. But we actually have an interview with all three of the tournament organisers. So if there are any new league commissioners or new tournament organisers, or even existing ones, thinking about how you change from the BB20 to the season 3 or anniversary edition, let's have a listen. So let's cross live now to the big Ipswichski.
Okay, and the Down Under World Denizens here at the wrap-up of the big Ipswichski. So we've got with us here, we've got Zach, Sarah and Troy, the three TOs of the big Ipswichski, and kind of thrown in last minute, but you guys have done such an amazing job with what's going on. Do you want to tell us a little bit how it came about?
Well, we've got... we decided we'd get organised and arrange for 25. We had a changeover in commissioners, and we needed to get things done, and we needed to get things done in a very short amount of time. It's been a hard slog, you reckon, guys?
Yeah, trial by fire.
Yeah, getting both prize support, learning how to use tool play, making sure that everybody knows what they're doing. Like, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. But I guess all in all, we got it sorted.
Yeah, and I mean, we literally went from not sure whether we could make it all happen in time to selling out. So hats off to the three of you. Just wanted to say well done. And I just want to also just really give a big shout out to the shoulders of whom you're standing on. So in particular, just want to say Liam and Nyala Madrell, we just want to say thanks for all the work you guys have done in the Ipswich Blood Bowl area and with the tournaments that have come before, both Bloodesloe and Ipswichski prior. And also, I think Anthony Whitlock, a.k.a. Lingus, deserves a an honourable mention there in terms of his input into both the league.
Well, the original prize, not the original prize, the original players pack was generated with Anthony and your collaboration there, and I think that's worth acknowledge. That's more important to acknowledge as well. So there's that, the leftover prizes, and assisting us with some prints for some trophies, as well as some guiding points there towards some prize support. So it's important to acknowledge that, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the reasons we're really keen to have you on Down Under World Denizens is, that kind of changing of the guard. There is a time where a commissioner of a league or, a tournament organiser decides to step down and hand over. I myself have done it several times, stepped down from CanCon, for example, from Moab. I've stepped down from running those events and handed over to other coaches. So, I just wanted to talk to you guys, what's been the highlights and the pitfalls for somebody else who, either from a league perspective, because obviously Ipswich Blood Bowl Association is now under your commissioning, but also Ipswichski. Okay, so the question is, what's been the highlight and the pitfall of taking over from another, an existing league?
The community was one of the biggest ones. Everybody rallying behind us. Everybody rallying behind Sarah, like myself and Zach sort of had to be kept in line by Sarah at times where we got ambitious with our ideas or what we thought we could do, when the reality of it sometimes where we had that, we got to do it this way, otherwise you boys are going to go a bit too haywire with it, and Sarah can surely add on to that.
Yeah, I think the thing is keeping realistic timeframes on things that you can achieve and not overcommitting. Like, commit to what you know that you can achieve, but also reaching a little bit. Like, you don't want to stay at the same. You want to continue to reach, but also achievable. You don't want to promise something you can't deliver. So I think that has been a struggle to deliver things that had been promised by outgoing organisers to then fall in and make it work and come together in a way that everyone is happy with. So,
yeah, no, it's I think the changing the guard, if you will. You guys have brought a breath of fresh air. Like, looking at the prize table, which was just magnificent, by the way. 2 thumbs up all around from everybody that saw it. But not just that it was a full prize table, but it was very unique. Very diverse.
And spread the love.
And spread the love across everybody. But, the things, I got a slan mouse pad, which is going to be my dice cup mat now. And that's just a...
And nobody's going to have one.
No one else is going to have one. So that uniqueness, and I think, Sarah, that was you, wasn't it?
it was. I got a little bit creative with the computer and I had thought to myself, what else can we do? What else can we bring that A, fits our budget, and B, isn't anywhere else? So just trying to get something to take home that's a memory from here that you can't get somewhere else, or that's unique to our tournament.
It's the same idea with the jersey that Babs is sporting at the moment. Like, we sat there and went, oh, is this an idea that will work? And then, we sat there and went, actually, we might keep doing that. It's a good idea to have that little representation, even when you go to somewhere else, possibly. I was at the Ipswichski, I did that.
I got it for intimidation, so next year when I show up, it looks like I'm the winner.
I love that.
But it wasn't just the prize support, the communication. So, like, the three of you as TOs, you were very visual. You've told everyone right from the start, put your hands up, you got a problem, and I saw you guys walking around helping out. But not only that, the PowerPoint slide that you had running through the entire event, like when the game was on, there was a timer clock on there, but whilst the game was off, there was coming up, this is the schedule for today, this is what to do tomorrow, check your things at 9:15 and we can start the game. And there's a few acknowledgements of tournaments in Queensland and how many people have attended. I thought that was fantastic. And then not only that, when you were giving out the prizes at the end, you actually had the photos of the best painted in there. So not only did you take the photos, you had to upload those to PowerPoint to get them ready for the presentation. So that was amazing.
That was tricky. We had to photograph all the teams so no one was tipped off as to which one won.
So yeah, I just wanted to also just chat a little bit. You know, you've kind of been intentional about doing a bit of rebranding for the Blood Bowl Association. Talk us through a little bit. I love your logo, by the way. So you want to talk us through a little bit about what you've done in that space?
Well, it's actually kind of funny. I was sitting on the couch next to Sarah while we were doing up prize support, and I was like, I reckon we could it's probably time we got a logo, because for the longest time the IBBA haven't had an actual official logo, and it'd be nice to actually start getting a bit of an identity, you know, pushing the Ipswich side so that we can keep the community alive. And I thought, look, we need something that's memorable. We need something that people smile when they see it. And I was like, well, look, we've got two examples. Sunny Coast have the shark, and well, our lovely fellows over here have the gerbil. And I was like, well, look, I've got two examples here. I need to hit in the middle. And I thought, what's something fun? And then I just whispered in her ear, ibis. And she looked at me like, what? And I'm like, that's it. That's the one. It's on ibis. And so I kept going on what I was doing. I was like, oh, that'd be a great idea. My wife turns the computer around, and there's a logo in the thing. And I'm like, what? And that's it. That's where it went from there. And we went, all right, well, look, our best thing to do, we'll go to New Zealand and we'll show it to everyone that's there, and we'll see what they react. Every single Queensland blood bowler that saw the logo, within the first second of seeing it, this big grin. And I'm like, this is it. This is the one. We've got it. And that's where we're going.
Yeah, because I think it was a late night message that I got, you know, I was
With the
bin
picture.
chicken. Yeah, with the picture. And I was like, oh, it's a bin chicken. That's us. Like, that's it. That's us. All sorted.
Yeah.
No debate. Like, oh, what about this one, this one? Nah, that's it. Go.
It was literally a case of, do we want it in brown or grey?
Yeah, for our overseas listeners there, the mighty ibis might be seen. I know in Egypt it was a creature held in high regard. Here in Australia, it's called the bin chicken, as Troy said. So the moment I saw it over in New Zealand, it was like, yeah, the bin chicken, yes, go for it. And anything with a bin chicken logo on it got taken off that prize table almost straight away.
and the reason for our listeners who aren't aware, the reason it's called a bin chicken is because it is a scavenger bird, and so it does literally raid dumpsters and bins for food, and also where they choose to nest, often on little islands in the middle of duck ponds, whatever, become an absolute dumpster of a mess because they poop everywhere, and the tree they roost on becomes completely devoid of any foliage whatsoever. So yeah, that's why it's called the bin chicken. But there's a bit of an underground movement, a bit of a push that it's going to become the mascot of the 2032 or whatever it is Olympic Games. Everybody wants it to be that. That's the underground movement. It's in the same ilk, I think, as the Kiwi flag with a kiwi with laser eyes. But I don't know if that's going to get there. But the bin chicken, that is. But I think it's a fantastic Blood Bowl logo and just leans into that humorous element of Blood Bowl. I love it. I think it's a fantastic choice, and I love the way you guys are thinking about how do we move forward in a positive way from where you've picked up. Not that it's been in a bad space, but how do you build on what's already there? I think you've done a great job. Any tips for our listeners? What advice would you give to somebody else in your shoes? Is there anything you either should do that you've done or shouldn't do that you've done?
Okay, I'm going to make this very, very clear. Do not try to plan a tournament with 2 months of time. Don't do it. It's horrible. Make sure you slow burn. Make sure you're going through the whole year prepping your stuff up, hyping it up, because if you do it in short notice, it is a full-time job.
And the communication was the key. I don't know how many times we drive home from work and just be calling each other on the drive home. What do you think of this? Yeah, texting. We text Millsy, we text other people going, oh, what do you think about this? Or even just you and I going, hey, we need to get this and this done. Like, how close are we going to get to the mark?
I think also having an ideas support committee to bounce things off, people that you can trust, that are there to go, hey, I think that's good. Hey, I don't think that's hit the mark. Whatever it is, just, hey, what about this? Just some feedback that's honest and supportive, without putting things out in public and it crashing. So getting that right is really important.
Another fun one, I call it TTT. Always remember, when in doubt, talk to Tats.
That's Tats Tabletop for those people listening for prize support. But yeah, one of the things you just mentioned there is putting it out. You've got this idea in your mind, it works. Putting it out to other people, whether you get a little community going or the messenger group or something like that. Oftentimes when we come up with an idea in our head, we have tunnel vision, we're looking one way. So you need those other people to look at it and go, oh, that rule could be broken in this way, or that might not work here. So having those people to bounce off is really, really helpful.
And also, I love what you said about, getting ideas checks, but also getting, delegating where you can. And I know you guys were very happy that I could help with the rules pack. Even before you guys started, one of the things that I wanted to do that Liam had started was actually form like a rules pack team called the Rules Breaker. So the idea is you get a whole bunch of experienced coaches to look at the rules pack and go, how can we break it? Like what can we do that's too powerful? And particularly with a high TV tournament like the Big Ipswichski, that was really important. And so I just like to say everybody on that Rules Breaker team, I thought, like the fact is, literally this morning over breakfast, we were chatting, the five of us in our apartment. Nobody came with a broken roster. In fact, probably the person who came with the most broken roster was me. So that's credit to everybody, in the community. Like, we had Pete Sinclair in there, we had Dimitri in there, we had Jason Morn in there, all had a look at the roster. And Chris Stratford, we had all those guys in there having a look at the rules pack in advance and tweaking it so that it wasn't busted.
Yeah, I think the playtesting was like something we found out about before the tournament, and it was like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, why don't we do that a bit more often? And knowing before you go in, like, not finding out on the day, oh crap, that's going to do people, and people are going to complain about that the whole time. So having that beforehand was just like heads above everything else.
Well, the other thing too is another tribute to the community there, like these big TV value, and like you were saying, with the access to star players, there was the potential for some very feral games, and everyone was on their best behaviour. We didn't have to break up any fights, nothing like that. So, like, I'm very thankful, man.
So, I know we're going to leave here now, and you're going to be busily planning next year's Big Ipswichski, which actually falls on Halloween, I believe. So, I don't know if you guys want to give out any spoilers, but I know you're probably going to spend the entire year planning towards that.
A nice bit of time to plan it out nicely.
Yeah, I think we already got the ideas flowing last night over some beers at Heisenberg, and maybe some sayings around certain things that were spoken about at the tournament by Babs, and we might lean into that with the next tournament of, the community and what affects us in the community as well, and really lean on that. We just might keep that saying to ourselves for a little bit.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. No worries. Thank you. Well, we'd like to thank you for coming on Down Under World Denizens, and hopefully we'll see you bigger and better at the Big Ipswichski next year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, just want to make sure we don't close out this episode without a bit of a shout out to the first tournament of the Queensland Series for 2026. I'm delighted to say that the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League, NBBBL, have put their hands up and said, yeah, we want to run a tournament in the tournament series, and they have got themselves very organised. Even though we don't know the exact way the new edition works, these guys have stepped out in faith and said, we're going to run it. So it'll be the first cab off the rank. And it's not just any old singles tournament. This tournament is a team of two required. So it is the NBBBL doubles showdown. So you need to come as a team of two Blood Bowl coaches. And it'll be a great opportunity to kind of explore how Blood Bowl in team tournaments work. And if that whets your appetite, of course, there's my own Tournament of Champions later in the year. So That is the Australia Day long weekend, the Saturday and Sunday of that weekend of in 2026. And do we have an exact venue, Millsy?
I believe it's held at the Dice Spot, which is where they have their league matches and so on. I know
Yep.
there will
So
be
that's
more
in
information coming out.
Chermside, I think, from memory.
Yeah, it's around that area in just kind of like the north side of Brisbane, I suppose. Hence the name, the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League. And they are actually experimenting with team rosters and team builds. Now we're all going to be doing that because of the new rule sets that are coming out, but they're looking at having a cooperative team building kind of experience. So each team of two players will have, a certain amount of TV, but then one coach may be able to use a little bit more TV, and then one coach might be able to have a couple more skills or something like that. So they are busily working on that. They haven't done this half-heartedly. They've really looked into how can they do this, and I'm fingers crossed. I'm waiting for them to come out with this a complete rule set. But like you, me, and every other blood bowler in the world, I think they're waiting for this uh, new rule set to come out so they can finalise that. But expect big things from the North Brisbane Blood Bowl League.
100%. Yeah, it'll be a good tournament. I know those guys, even though it might be their first tournament, they'll put on a great show. So yeah, sign up with confidence. Yeah, grab a Blood Bowl coach friend and get along. Hey, speaking of, that is going to be also the first tournament of the 2026 Queensland Tournament Series, which of course raises the question, what happened to the 2025 Queensland Tournament Series? Well, the 11s, the full Blood Bowl, the regular Blood Bowl, the tournament series has wrapped up. Now the sevens hasn't, because that final event is, of course, the Bundy Rumble. So you want to make sure you get to that and get those results in for that, because we'll wrap up the sevens tournament series at the Bundy Rumble. But for the full 11s tournament series, yeah, we actually are delighted to announce the winner of the first ever tournament series in Queensland is none other than Kiltane Quilty. So, yeah, he's managed to take that title out quite convincingly. The runner-up was almost like a show of nepotism. It was his own dad. It was Roy Quilty. And in third place, our very own Gerbils Wilts. Woohoo! Yeah, so Wilts managed to sneak into third spot there. There was some pretty hot contests for that third position. Managed to edge out Aidan G. I know was in the hunt. He also managed to edge out Pete Sinclair or Jawa Knight and Ken Dunford. So managed to pip all those guys to get there. That's no small feat. Well done, well done, well done. Now, there was somebody else who got a tournament pin, an NAF tournament pin in that event. Who was that,
There
Millsy?
was some stunty guy that was kind of stupid enough to take stunties to three tournaments this season. I'm reading it out here off the list. It's none other
I
than
think his
Mr.
first name
Babbage.
begins with the letter D and his last name is Fault. D Fault.
Default. Yes, no, Mr. Babbage is the stunty champion of the first ever Queensland 11 series. So well done, Babs.
Yes, winning
And
it as the only coach who took stunties to 3+ tournaments. Although there were several who were going to, and just obviously life got in the way. So, there were some other coaches that managed to get 2 results in with stunties. So hopefully that category will be more hotly contested in 2026.
yeah, and let's not say it's fully default. You did take stunties to the Big Ipswichski and you were stunty champion at the Big Ipswichski too. So like you were winning those awards throughout the series anyway. So, hats off to you, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I'm not sure
stunned I
if I'm going
managed
to
to
be
get
brave enough
sixth
to do it.
overall in the series.
Yeah, well, sixth in the series out of how many coaches were there altogether
100,
that took part?
118 coaches.
So out of 118 coaches, uh, you were sixth with stunties.
Yeah, now that
Now,
does include our interstate raiders, but that's fine. Happy to include them in the series total.
that's mind blowing. So, whilst you might say it was default, your results were still up there, and I think you thoroughly deserve that
Yeah, yeah,
title.
yeah. Well, thank you, very kind. But yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see Wilts sneak into third place behind the Quilties. Yeah, that's a massive, massive achievement, and those pins are super hard to get, really rare. So yeah, I think that's just going to get harder and harder up here in Queensland to get one of those pins. So I'm looking forward to getting along to the Bundy Rumble and seeing whether I can get a second before they become
The
almost
second one.
impossible. Yeah, I'm going to shoot for it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'll be successful or not, but I'm going to give it a red hot crack. But
Oh, I'm going to give it
also,
even a hotter crack. I'm going for that one as well.
well, there's a few on offer.
Hey,
There's three.
yeah, but
It's not
let's
mutually
not take
exclusive.
things back from Wilts there. Like we said, he stumbled in. It's like no, he actually didn't. He had the runs on the board going into the tournament, as did a number of other players that we've mentioned. Ken Dunford or Jarwin Knight, Pete Sinclair, who was actually the highest ranked Queenslander at the ASC. Um, and whilst you might say, oh, well, Ken and Jawa had a bit of a stumble, one thing the Wilts did not was he didn't stumble. He maintained that consistency. And I think he's a really worthy recipient of third place.
100%, 100% agree. Absolutely. I got it. Hey, I just wanted to say, hey, you know, I did talk last episode about Queensland having really come of age in Blood Bowl. Well, not only are we doing great guns up here with 118 coaches in Queensland tournaments, we are raiding other locations as well. So I'm delighted to say, and frankly astounded, Capital Shield in Wellington in June of next year is already sold out at 102 coaches. Can you believe that? 102. Like literally, people didn't think they could get to 50 this year. They got to 56. So Mushroomie proved them all wrong. Now sold out at 102. And of that
But
102,
they were actually sold out at a different number before that 102, weren't
yeah,
they?
that's
What
right,
was the
72,
original
and they
number they
went and got
sold
a bigger
out?
venue. Yeah, that's right. And the
Yeah.
thing is, who's helped them get there? A bunch of Queenslanders. I believe there's 5 Queenslanders heading over to Wellington middle of the year. So, we're not
Queenslander, yes.
that's it. We're not just going to our own tournaments. We're getting to the Big V. We're getting to Eucalyptus Bowl. We're getting to, like we have come of age, and now I believe there's more Queenslanders at Capital Shield than Victorians. All right. So come on, Mexicans. I mean, sorry, Victorians, get your game on.
Yes, another successful PAV raid. Although it's not going to be a PAV raid because we already own it. So anyway,
Have defense. Have
yeah,
defense.
like PAV defense. We do like to raid, and I may have actually used that a little sneaky way of getting a number of those NBBL coaches up to the Bundy Rumble. I might have put a post out to all the leagues in the area and told them about NBBL has been posting and going off about how many they've won and they're doing this and they're rating that. And so let's all get behind, and stop these people from North Brisbane taking our event. And they swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. I had
Brilliant.
5 of them
Brilliant.
sign up that day. So it was, I threw the line out and they just jumped on. That was fantastic. So I'm
Brilliant.
really
Brilliant
looking
work.
forward to having
And,
those
and
guys
and that
coming up.
friendly rivalry is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And we will talk about that again in 2026, I'm sure. And I just wanted to say too, 5 Queenslanders sounds good until you realise actually it would have been many more than that. But it actually, Capital Shield in 2026 is the exact same weekend as Fumble in the Jungle. And already a bunch of Queenslanders from down south are saying, no, 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 we're going to Fumble in the Jungle. So, it's great to see that the whole attempt of having a nice spread out calendar in 2026 across Queensland is really paying dividends already with a bunch of people from the southeast corner getting up to Fumble in the Jungle, whereas before there's only been a few of us. So, yeah, that's brilliant. I'm really pleased to see lots of people from across our glorious state traveling the breadth of it to get from one tournament to another. That's what we want to see. More of that.
Yeah, and I love the way a couple of those leagues have sort of, they've been talking to themselves and said, well, okay, well, we've got 10 travellers. Let's send half of them up there and half of them down, across the ditch. So the as much as people like to bag Queensland or they did in the past, it's one thing they cannot do anymore. We are on the map and we're here to stay.
You better believe it. All right, I think that's buckets. I think we've said enough. All right. I just wanted to just say, hey, this special edition of Down Under World Denizens has been brought to you by the Australian Animal Team, the Drop Bear team, and pre-orders open up 19th of November. So production with those is going really, really well. There are still some models in that range that are still to be finalised, but pre-orders are going to open the Wednesday after the Big V. All right, so what's in the team? What's in this Drop Bear team, the Australian Animal Team? Well, we've got koala linemen, we've got kangaroo blitzers, which you could use as strikers. I'll talk about that in a second. You've got cockatoo throwers, you've got Healthy Harold as a nurse, and you've got a Yowie large player. Now, this team is designed to be playable for several fantasy football games. And it's not just a team that's going to be a single race, like an elf team or a dwarf team. You can play them as whatever you want to play as. So, for example, if you want to take them in Blood Bowl, you can make them as orcs or dwarves or humans. But if you want to use them in Dread Ball, you can use them as guards or strikers. And if you want to use them in Elf Ball, you can use them as midfielders, as strikers or safety. So I just want to put to you, if you're at all upset about the hamster moves legally and removing positionals, why don't you support the 3D sculptors? And this is a great way you can show your support by pre-ordering one of the Drop Bear teams. I personally am super pumped for one to be added to my collection. What do you guys think?
I can't wait. They're iconically Australian. They're like a Australian animals crossed with Mad Max. Like these guys they're not cute koalas that you can cuddle up to or whatever. These guys will pounding whenever they can, loving it.
I think if you want your team to appear dangerous, what could be more dangerous than a bunch of Australian animals?
I'm looking forward to the cockatoo throwers. They're the best ones so far, I think.
Yeah, right. So what would be better for a team playing fantasy football,
Australia,
right?
Like every animal wants to kill you.
That's it. It's perfect, right? And what would be more perfect than grabbing one of these teams, right? Like, even if you're listening to our podcast and you're not in Australia, why would you not want an Australian animal themed team anyway? Because they're cool and they're dangerous and they're threatening. Like, awesome. Anything else anybody wants to say before we sign out for this episode?
I think it's been a bumper episode. Thank you for listening right until the end. And hopefully we will return to our normal process in our next episode, where hopefully by then we've got a box set out and we won't have to talk so much because you'll have all the rules in front of you.
Unless we want to talk about the implications of them, but sounds good. Sounds really good.
It's because of the implications.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for it. I, for one, salute our new GW overlords with their
and you know that what
one
you're
box
quoting
per team
is
set.
What you're quoting is the
Actually,
the
no, I
episode
don't.
of The
No, I don't.
Simpsons where literally the aliens who want to eat all the humans come and take over, right?
Yes, I for one welcome our alien overlords. No, I do not welcome. I'm not a big fan of the of GW corporate and what they've made the playtest team do, but I'm really confident that the playtest team will come up with the goods for us. So there's my fingers crossed.
Yeah, brilliant. Wilt, anything else you want to sign out with?
Oh, hang on, 1 sec. I'm sorry, 2 seconds. I'm just trying to find. No, I've missed it. I was gonna try and make a Futurama reference. It just hasn't come to my brain.
Wilt, you'll sign out.
Okay.
Are you still Chaos Undivided because they weren't impacted?
Yeah, I don't know. I've completely lost my brain at the moment.
Nice. Unchained?
Chaos unchanged. They could be unchained or unchanged.
Unchanged and untrimmed.
Well, we don't know. They.
All glory to the Hypnotoad.
Oh, I love it.
That's your sign out? Okay, we'll go with that. What about you, Millsy?
Oh, mate, as ever, it's win or the casualty bin, and hopefully there's a few more wins because Slan haven't been changed.
Well, we don't know, but I guess my sign out is I'm definitely going on the record that this loss of positionals is a bad move, trademark. don't like it at all. But I do want to just say massive kudos to the playtesting committee and Jay Clare's team, who have done what they can to make this a really interesting edition nonetheless. So hats off to those guys. And yeah, I want to support them, and I will be supporting them through my purchases. You know, who knows? Hopefully the high elf box will have 4 catches in it because they'll get it right.
Alrighty. And on that note, we'll catch you later.
You want to tell us one more time, Babs?
No, I think they got it the other 59,278 times I said it.
if we just cut Babs saying that to once, that cuts an hour out of the schedule already.
That's got to stay in. You've got to put that in.
Yeah, you shouldn't have held back, Babs. You should have just told us how you really felt about it.
I tried to be measured.
You went soft, mate.
Maybe I failed, but I tried.
Yeah. Well, you were measured. The problem was you measured so many times. You didn't have to measure that many times.
I'll be cutting a lot more than once.
Yeah. Yeah. You sounded pretty cut most of the time.
You sure you haven't had a drink, Babs? You sound half cut occasionally too.
All right.
Oh, it's better than my Mushumi interview. I was fully cut in that one. Oh, I apologise, guys.
Yeah, nice. Beautiful.
That sort of worked, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah, no, that sucks. I'm not saying that. No.
Down Under World Denizens discusses games, workshops, games and products such as Blood Bowl, Gutter Bowl, Dungeon Bowl and Crunch. We also discuss other fantasy football board games and concepts from other companies such as Dread Ball, Guild Ball, Grind, Elf Ball, Myth and Goal, Blitz Bowl, Chaos Ball, Monsters of the Midway and Feud Ball. We discuss products and services such as miniatures or software made by producers suitable for several of these board games. Games Workshop terms and conditions in point 2.1 state they grant the user the non-exclusive right to use their authorised intellectual property for broadcasting and other media-related activities such as commentary and opinion pieces, blogs, and other similar informational and descriptive purposes. Down Under World Denizens respects and honours these terms.